Asha's body convulses on the examination table, her iridescent scales flickering in the dim light of the HSS Endeavor's medical bay. Dr. Gary Sullivan rushes to her side, his heart pounding as he activates his medical scanner. The Ladosian female's large, almond-shaped eyes roll back, her slender form trembling uncontrollably. Computer vital signs. Gary barks, his fingers flying over the medical console. The ship's AI responds in a cool, detached tone. Ladosian life signs deteriorating rapidly. Cellular breakdown detected. Estimated time to complete system failure, 15 minutes. Gary curses under his breath. Just hours ago, he and Asha had shared an intimate moment, driven by a heady mix of scientific curiosity and undeniable attraction. Now, that moment of passion threatens to unravel everything. Asha's life, the diplomatic mission, and the fragile peace between humans and Ladosians. The Endeavor, Earth's most advanced long-range starship, had been dispatched to the newly discovered Ladosian homeworld with a critical mission: establish peaceful relations and secure access to the aliens' advanced terraforming technology. Humanity's expansion efforts hinged on this diplomatic endeavor. Alarms blare throughout the medical bay as Gary frantically analyzes the data streaming across his scanner. The results are baffling. Asha's biology is reacting violently to something in human reproductive fluids. What should have been a harmless encounter is turning into a potential diplomatic catastrophe. Asha, can you hear me? Gary leans close, his voice urgent. Her eyes flutter, unfocused. I need you to stay with me. We're going to figure this out. As he speaks, a strange energy signature catches his eye on the scanner. Faint at first, but growing stronger by the second. The interaction between human and Ladosian biology has triggered something unexpected and potentially catastrophic. Gary's mind races. If word of this reaches Ladosian High Command, it could spark an interstellar incident. Worse, if he can't stabilize Asha's condition, her death could lead to open conflict between their species. The ship's corridors echo with running footsteps. The commotion has drawn attention. Gary knows he has precious little time before he's forced to explain the situation to his superiors. He turns back to Asha, determination etched on his features. The growing feelings he harbors for her war with his duty to the mission, to his species. But right now, saving her life takes precedence over everything else. Computer, begin full spectrum analysis of the energy signature. Cross-reference with all known xenobiological data. Gary's hands move swiftly, preparing a cocktail of stabilizing agents. And initiate emergency quarantine protocols for the medical bay. Authorization Sullivan Alpha 17. As the medical bay's blast doors slam shut, sealing them off from the rest of the ship, Gary takes a deep breath. He gazes at Asha's prone form, her scales now pulsing with an otherworldly light. Hold on, Asha, he whispers, prepping a hypo spray. I'm not letting you go without a fight. With the fate of two species hanging in the balance, Gary plunges into a race against time. The consequences of their passionate encounter have spiraled far beyond anything either of them could have imagined. As the energy readings from Asha's body spike to new heights, Gary realizes that the next few minutes will determine not just their future, but potentially the course of human-Ladosian relations for generations to come. The energy readings from Asha's body spiked again, sending a fresh wave of alarms blaring through the medical bay. Gary's eyes darted between the monitors and Asha's convulsing form, his mind racing to find a solution. Computer, analyze the energy signature's focal point, Gary commanded, his fingers flying over the console. Analysis complete, the AI responded. Energy signature concentrated in the subject's reproductive organs. Gary's breath caught in his throat as the pieces fell into place. The intimate encounter between human and Ladosian had triggered something unprecedented in Asha's biology. Her body was attempting to adapt to human genetic material, causing a dangerous metabolic overload. Without hesitation, Gary sprinted to the far corner of the medical bay, his footsteps echoing in the tense silence between alarm blares. He wrenched open a storage unit, revealing a sleek, cylindrical chamber. "Johnson, Park, help me with this." Gary called to his two medical assistants who had just entered the bay. Together, they carefully maneuvered the specialized stasis chamber next to Asha's examination table. This chamber was designed for preserving alien specimens, Gary explained hurriedly as they worked. If we can slow down her biological processes, it might buy us the time we need. With practiced precision, they transferred Asha's trembling form into the stasis chamber. Gary's eyes remained fixed on the vital signs monitor as the chamber hummed to life, enveloping Asha in a soft blue glow. Seconds ticked by like hours until finally, mercifully, Asha's readings began to stabilize. Gary released a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "Computer, begin full biological analysis of the subject," Gary ordered, his voice steadier now. "Cross-reference with all known data on Ladosian physiology." As the computer processed the command, the medical bay doors slid open with a hiss. Captain Elena Rodriguez strode in, her face a mask of concern and authority. "Dr. Sullivan, report," she demanded, taking in the scene before her. Gary straightened, meeting the captain's gaze. "Captain, we have a situation. The Ladosian delegate, Asha, experienced a severe biological reaction following." He hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "An intimate encounter with a human crew member." Captain Rodriguez's eyes widened slightly, but she maintained her composure. "Explain." Gary launched into a concise explanation of Asha's condition and the potential ramifications. As he spoke, the computer chimed, signaling the completion of its analysis. "Computer, display results," Gary commanded. Holographic displays sprang to life around them, showcasing intricate diagrams of Ladosian biology. Gary's eyes roved over the data, his scientific mind piecing together the puzzle. "It's incredible," he breathed. "The Ladosian reproductive system is far more complex than we initially thought. It has the ability to rapidly evolve and adapt to new genetic information. In normal circumstances, this would be beneficial for their species' evolution, but when exposed to human DNA, it became catastrophic," Captain Rodriguez finished, her voice grim. Gary nodded, continuing to study the displays. "But there might be a solution. Ladosian biology relies heavily on a unique form of energy transfer during reproduction. If we can simulate that energy signature using our scientific equipment, we might be able to stabilize Asha's condition and reverse the adaptation process." Captain Rodriguez considered this for a moment. "What do you need, Doctor?" "Time, resources, and—" Gary hesitated. "Expert assistance. We need someone with intimate knowledge of Ladosian physiology. Someone we can trust." The captain's expression hardened. "You realize the diplomatic implications if word of this gets out?" "I do," Gary replied solemnly. "But without help, I'm not sure we can save her." Captain Rodriguez paced the length of the medical bay, weighing her options. Finally, she turned back to Gary. "Dr. Zara," she said, "the Ladosian xenobiologist who helped initiate first contact. If anyone can help us navigate this situation, it's her." Gary nodded in agreement, relief washing over him. As Captain Rodriguez moved to make the necessary arrangements, he turned back to the stasis chamber. Asha floated serenely within, her scales pulsing with a soft, otherworldly light. Leaning closer, Gary noticed subtle changes in the energy readings. The adaptation process appeared to be slowing, but new, unfamiliar patterns were emerging. His scientific curiosity piqued. Gary realized they were witnessing something unprecedented, a fusion of human and Ladosian biology at its most fundamental level. As he watched, transfixed by the readings, Gary knew that the next few hours would be crucial, not just for Asha's survival, but for the future of human-Ladosian relations. The consequences of their actions would ripple across the stars, shaping the course of interstellar diplomacy for years to come. With renewed perseverance, Gary turned back to his console, preparing for Dr. Zar's arrival. The race to save Asha and possibly redefine the boundaries of interspecies biology had begun. Gary's fingers flew across the console, preparing for Dr. Zar's arrival, when a sudden surge of energy erupted from the stasis chamber. The medical bay erupted in a cacophony of alarms, bathing the room in pulsating red light. Dr. Sullivan, the ship's AI's voice cut through the chaos. Anomalous energy readings detected from the stasis unit. Ladosian vital signs changing rapidly. Gary spun around, his eyes widening as he witnessed an extraordinary transformation unfolding before him. Asha's body, once racked with convulsions, now emanated a soft, pulsating glow. Her iridescent scales shimmered with increased intensity, casting prismatic reflections across the medical bay's sterile surfaces. Computer, full spectrum analysis. Gary commanded, rushing to the chamber's control panel. His heart raced as he studied the readouts, scarcely believing what he was seeing. This is impossible. The door to the medical bay hissed open, admitting Captain Rodriguez and a stocky, grizzled man Gary recognized as Commander Jack Harper, the ship's chief engineer. "Status report, Doctor," Rodriguez demanded, her eyes fixed on the glowing stasis chamber. Gary turned to face them, his expression a mix of awe and disbelief. "Captain, Commander, Asha's body is no longer in distress. It's adapting, evolving at an unprecedented rate." Commander Harper stepped forward, his weathered features creased with concern. "Mind if I take a look, Doc? I've got some experience with unusual energy patterns." Gary nodded, stepping aside to give the engineer access to the readings. Harper's eyes narrowed as he studied the data, his fingers dancing across the interface with practiced ease. "I've never seen anything like this," Harper muttered, shaking his head. "It's as if her body is generating its own unique radiation signature. It's not Ladosian, and it's certainly not human." Captain Rodriguez's lips pressed into a thin line. "Is it dangerous?" Before either man could respond, the stasis chamber emitted a high-pitched whine. The glow surrounding Asha's body intensified, forcing them to shield their eyes. "Her vital signs are stabilizing," Gary reported, squinting at the readouts. "Body temperature returning to normal. I think it's safe to deactivate the stasis field." Rodriguez hesitated for a moment, then gave a curt nod. "Do it." Gary's fingers trembled slightly as he input the command. The chamber's field flickered and dissipated, leaving Asha's still form exposed to the air of the medical bay. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, Asha's eyes fluttered open, revealing irises that shimmered with an otherworldly iridescence. "Asha!" Gary leaned close, his voice barely above a whisper. "Can you hear me?" Asha's gaze focused on Gary, a smile spreading across her face. "Gary," she said, her voice stronger than he'd ever heard it. "I feel incredible." Gary helped her sit up, running a quick medical scan as he did so. His eyebrows shot up as he examined the results. "This is remarkable. Your cellular structure has undergone significant changes. It's as if your Ladosian DNA has fully integrated with the human genetic material." Asha flexed her fingers, marveling at the newfound strength she felt coursing through her body. "Everything feels so clear, so vibrant. It's as if my senses have been amplified tenfold." Captain Rodriguez stepped forward, her expression guarded. "Ms. Asha, I'm relieved to see you're feeling better. However, I hope you understand that this situation requires careful consideration. Dr. Sullivan, I want a full report on these changes. Commander Harper, analyze those energy readings. We need to understand exactly what's happened here." As Rodriguez spoke, Asha's attention drifted to the far wall of the medical bay. Her eyes widened as she focused on the ship's computer interface. Without warning, she extended her hand and the screen flickered to life. Impossible, Harper breathed. She's interfacing directly with the ship's systems, without any physical contact. Gary watched in amazement as Asha effortlessly navigated through the ship's database, absorbing information at an astonishing rate. "Asha," he said gently, placing a hand on her shoulder. "What are you doing?" Asha blinked, seeming to come back to herself. I'm not entirely sure. It's as if I can see the data streams, feel them. This new form. It's opened up so many possibilities." Captain Rodriguez's communicator chirped, interrupting the moment. "Captain, we're receiving reports of unusual activity in the crew quarters. Some are claiming to have seen strange lights. Others are reporting malfunctions in non-essential systems." Rodriguez's eyes narrowed as she glanced from Asha to the active computer interface. "Acknowledged. Implement Security Protocol Theta 3. I want all non-essential personnel confined to their quarters until further notice." As the captain issued her orders, Gary noticed Asha sway slightly, her brow furrowing in confusion. "Asha, are you all right?" "I'm not sure," she replied, her voice uncertain. "There's so much information, so many new sensations. It's overwhelming." Gary guided her back to the examination table, his scientific curiosity warring with concern for her well-being. "Let's run some more detailed scans. We need to understand exactly what's happening to you." As Gary prepared the equipment, Commander Harper approached Captain Rodriguez, speaking in hushed tones. "Captain, I need to check on the long-range communications array. If Asha's new abilities are affecting shipboard systems, we could be vulnerable." Rodriguez nodded grimly. "Go. Report any anomalies immediately." As Harper hurried from the medical bay, Gary began his examination of Asha. Each new scan revealed further marvels of her transformation, painting a picture of a being that was neither fully Ladosian nor human, but something entirely new. Unbeknownst to the crew of the Endeavor, the unique energy signature emanating from Asha's hybrid form had already begun to ripple through space. As it interfered with the ship's communications array, it sent out an unintended beacon, carrying whispers of a groundbreaking discovery to the far reaches of the cosmos. In the vast expanse of space, unknown entities stirred, their attention drawn to the faint signal of a new power emerging. The Endeavor's mission, once focused on diplomacy and scientific exchange, now teetered on the brink of an adventure that would reshape the very fabric of interstellar relations. As Gary continued his examination, Asha's eyes met his, filled with a mixture of wonder and apprehension. "Gary," she whispered, "what's happening to me?" Before he could answer, the medical bay's lights flickered, and a surge of energy pulsed through the ship's systems. The Endeavor trembled slightly, as if in anticipation of the cosmic drama about to unfold. The tremor subsided, leaving an eerie silence in its wake. Suddenly, a shrill alarm pierced the air, causing Gary to jump. Captain Rodriguez's voice crackled over the intercom, urgency clear in her tone. "All hands to battle stations. Unknown vessel approaching rapidly." Gary's eyes widened as he glanced at Asha, who appeared equally startled. "We need to get you secured," he said, reaching for a nearby stabilization harness. Before he could fasten it, Asha gasped, her body tensing. The soft glow emanating from her scales intensified, pulsing in rhythm with the approaching ship's energy signature. "Gary," she whispered, her voice tinged with a mixture of fear and fascination. "I can feel it. The ship. It's calling to me." The medical bay door hissed open, admitting Captain Rodriguez. Her usually composed demeanor was strained, eyes darting between Gary and Asha. "Dr. Sullivan, We need Asha on the bridge. Now. Gary opened his mouth to protest, but Rodriguez cut him off with a sharp gesture. I know it's risky, but her abilities might be our only chance to understand what we're dealing with. Reluctantly, Gary nodded, helping Asha to her feet. As they made their way to the bridge, the ship's corridors were a flurry of activity, crew members rushing to their stations, faces etched with tension. The bridge was a hive of controlled chaos when they arrived. Commander Harper's voice rang out from the engineering station. Captain, shields are fluctuating. We're vulnerable. Rodriguez turned to Asha, her expression grave. Ms. Asha, I need you to focus. Can you tell us anything about that ship? Asha stepped forward, drawn to the main view screen. The sight that greeted her took her breath away. A massive vessel hung in space before them, its sleek form a perfect blend of organic curves and gleaming metal. It pulsed with an otherworldly energy that seemed to call out to her very being. Without thinking, Asha placed her hand on the nearest console. The effect was immediate and startling. The ship's systems, which had been erratic moments before, suddenly stabilized. The view screen flickered, then sharpened, providing a crystal-clear image of the alien vessel. It's beautiful. Asha breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. They're called the Cynthians, an ancient race, far more advanced than anything we've encountered. Gary watched in amazement as Asha's eyes flickered rapidly, processing vast amounts of information. She's interfacing directly with our systems, he reported, decoding their transmissions in real time. Asha continued, her voice taking on an almost trance-like quality. They've been watching us, waiting for this moment. My transformation, it's a signal to them. We've reached a crucial evolutionary milestone. Captain Rodriguez leaned forward, her voice taut with restrained excitement. What do they want, Asha? Are they here to help us, or? Her question was cut short as the bridge rocked violently. Commander Harper's voice rang out. Multiple objects launched from the alien vessel. They're heading straight for us. The crew braced for impact, but instead of explosions, they heard a series of dull thuds. Harper's fingers flew over his console. Captain, they're not weapons. Some kind of probes. They've attached themselves to our hull. As if in response to Harper's words, the ship's system surged to life. Displays that had been flickering moments before now shone with unprecedented clarity. Harper's eyes widened as he studied the readings. Incredible. They're repairing the damage from the energy fluctuations, enhancing our systems beyond anything we've seen before. Captain Rodriguez's expression was a mix of relief and wariness. It seems our visitors come in peace, at least for now. She turned to Asha, who still stood transfixed by the view screen. Asha, can you establish communication with them? Asha nodded slowly, her hand still resting on the console. The view screen flickered and a new image appeared. The bridge crew gasped collectively at the sight of the Cynthian representative. It was a being of indescribable beauty, its form a seamless blend of organic tissue and advanced technology. As Asha prepared to facilitate communication, Gary stepped closer to her, his scientific curiosity warring with a deep-seated protective instinct. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the precipice of something monumental, something that would change the course of human and Ladosian history forever. The Cynthian's voice, when it came, was not a sound but a resonance that seemed to vibrate through the very fabric of the ship. Greetings, children of two worlds, it said, its words translated through Asha's unique connection. We have long awaited this day. Captain Rodriguez straightened her uniform, squaring her shoulders as she prepared to engage in humanity's first conversation with this advanced race. The fate of two species, perhaps even the entire galaxy, hung in the balance of the words about to be exchanged. As the captain opened her mouth to speak, Asha suddenly stiffened, her eyes widening in alarm. The ship's systems flickered ominously, and a new, urgent message began to scroll across the displays. The crew of the Endeavour found themselves facing not just the promise of new knowledge and advancement, but a potential threat they couldn't yet comprehend. The Cynthians' next words would determine whether this encounter would lead to a new age of enlightenment or plunge them into an interstellar conflict beyond their wildest. Comprehension. The Cynthians' melodic voice resonated through the bridge once more, but its words were lost in a sudden cacophony of alarms. The ship's systems flickered wildly, displays flashing with urgent warnings. "Captain," Commander Harper's voice cut through the chaos. "The alien probes are initiating a deeper interface with our systems. We're losing control." Before Captain Rodriguez could respond, Asha let out a gasp. Her body began to emit an intense, pulsating glow, bathing the bridge in an otherworldly light. Dr. Sullivan rushed to her side, medical scanner in hand. "Asha's vital signs are fluctuating rapidly," he reported, his voice tight with concern. "It's as if her body is responding to the Cynthian presence." The holographic image of the Cynthian representative shimmered and solidified, revealing a being of breathtaking complexity. Its form seemed to shift and adapt as it moved, a mesmerizing fusion of organic and technological elements. "I am Xantao," the being announced, its voice a harmonious blend of tones that reverberated through the ship's hull. Emissary of the Cynthians, tasked with evaluating emerging hybrid species. Captain Rodriguez stepped forward, her posture rigid with a mixture of awe and wariness. "I am Captain Elena Rodriguez of the HSS Endeavour. What is the purpose of your presence here?" Xantao's form rippled, reflecting the intensity of the moment. "We have observed humanity and the Ladosians for centuries, waiting for this precise moment. The transformation of Asha is not a random occurrence, but a predetermined evolutionary step we have long anticipated." As Xantao spoke, Asha's connection to the ship's systems intensified. Her eyes widened, pupils dilating as she processed an unprecedented influx of data. "I can see it all," she whispered, her voice strained. "Human history, Ladosian history. It's all flowing through me." Dr. Sullivan gripped her shoulders, attempting to stabilize her. "Asha, stay with us. Focus on my voice." Commander Harper's voice cut through the tension. "Captain, the Cynthian probes are reconfiguring our technology. Our capabilities are being enhanced, but we're losing control of our own systems." Rodriguez turned back to Xantao, her voice sharp with urgency. "Explain your intentions. Now." The Cynthian emissary's form pulsed with energy. "Asha represents a crucial link in our grand plan for galactic evolution. By guiding the merger of organic and artificial life forms across the universe, we aim to create a new, superior species capable of transcending current limitations." As these words echoed through the bridge, Asha's body suddenly lifted off the ground, suspended by an invisible energy field. Her eyes glowed with an unearthly light, and when she spoke, her voice seemed to emanate from the very structure of the ship. "I see it all," she intoned, "the entirety of human and Ladosian history, and glimpses of possible futures stemming from our union." Dr. Sullivan reached out to her, driven by a mix of scientific fascination and deepening personal concern. But an energy barrier repelled his touch, keeping him at bay. "Asha," he called out, his voice thick with emotion. "Come back to us." Xantao observed this interaction with interest. "We offer a proposition," the emissary announced. "We will share our advanced technology and knowledge with both humanity and the Ladosians, but only if Asha willingly chooses to join us as an intermediary. This decision must be made freely, without coercion." Captain Rodriguez's mind raced, weighing the potential benefits against the ethical implications. After a moment of tense deliberation, she turned to her crew. "Stand down," she ordered. "This decision belongs to Asha." All eyes turned to the suspended form of Asha, her body still pulsing with ethereal light. She hovered between two worlds, the familiar comfort of her human and Ladosian roots, and the vast unknown represented by the Cynthians. Her gaze locked with Dr. Sullivan's, and in that moment, the weight of her choice became palpably clear. The fate of multiple species hung in the balance as Asha prepared to speak. The crew of the Endeavor held their breath, acutely aware that they were witnessing a moment that would shape the course of galactic history. In the tense silence that followed, the pulsing of Asha's hybrid biology seemed to echo the collective heartbeat of all those present, a cosmic rhythm on the precipice of change. A cosmic rhythm on the precipice of change. The silence stretched, taut as a wire, until Asha's body began to descend. Her feet touched the deck with a soft thud, the otherworldly glow in her eyes fading like a dying star. She blinked, her gaze clearing as it settled on Dr. Gary Sullivan. Without a word, she reached out and grasped his hand. The simple gesture sent a visible ripple of energy coursing through the ship's systems. Displays flickered, and the low hum of the Cynthian probes faltered. "I choose to stay," Asha declared, her voice steady and resolute. "My place is here, with my people, both human and Ladosian." The effect of her decision was immediate. The Cynthian probes attached to the Endeavor's hull began to disengage, their departure accompanied by a series of metallic groans and the hiss of escaping atmosphere. Xantau's holographic form shimmered, its expression unreadable. "We respect your choice, Asha of two worlds," the emissary intoned. "But be warned, this decision may carry unforeseen consequences for the future of both your species." With a gesture that seemed both benediction and farewell, Xantau's form dissolved into motes of light. The main view screen showed the massive Cynthian vessel beginning to withdraw, its sleek form receding into the star-studded void. Captain Rodriguez wasted no time. "Harper, damage report. Sullivan, get Asha to medical for a full workup." As the bridge erupted into a flurry of activity, Gary led Asha towards the turbolift. Her hand remained firmly clasped in his, a lifeline in the chaos. In sickbay, Gary's fingers flew over the diagnostic console, his brow furrowed in concentration. Asha lay on the biobed, her scales shimmering under the harsh medical lighting. "Fascinating," Gary murmured, eyes locked on the readouts. "Your hybrid physiology has stabilized, but with significant enhancements. Strength, reflexes, sensory perception, all dramatically increased." Asha sat up, flexing her fingers experimentally. "I feel different, more connected, somehow." As if in response to her words, the nearby medical display flickered to life, scrolling through data at impossible speeds. Gary's eyes widened. "You retain the ability to interface with our systems," he breathed. "The implications are staggering." Their moment of scientific wonder was interrupted by the captain's voice over the comm. "Sullivan, report to the bridge immediately. Bring Asha." When they arrived, Rodriguez was bent over the tactical station with Harper, their faces grim. "Long-range sensors have detected multiple unidentified vessels entering the sector," Harper reported. "Energy signatures don't match anything in our database." Gary felt Asha stiffen beside him. "The Cynthians' arrival must have attracted attention," she said softly. "We've become a beacon in the dark." Rodriguez straightened, her eyes sharp. "We need to report to the nearest outpost and seek guidance on how to proceed." She turned to Gary. "Doctor, what's Asha's status?" Gary hesitated, glancing at Asha. "Physically, she's stable, enhanced even, but her ability to interface with our systems makes her uniquely vulnerable. Captain, I propose we use our medical holograms to disguise Asha's hybrid nature, for her own protection." Asha's eyes flashed. "No," she said firmly. "I won't hide what I am. This new form, it's a bridge between worlds, a symbol of what's possible." The tension between them was palpable, unspoken emotions crackling in the air. Gary opened his mouth to argue, but was cut off by Harper's urgent voice. "Captain, you need to see this," the commander called from his station. "The data package from the Cynthians. It contains blueprints for some kind of advanced propulsion system. If I'm reading this correctly, it could allow for near-instantaneous travel across vast distances." Rodriguez's eyes narrowed. "Can we implement it?" Harper shook his head. "Not with our current resources. The technology is... It's beyond us, Captain." A heavy silence fell over the bridge, broken only by the soft beeping of consoles. Rodriguez paced, her mind visibly racing. Finally, she turned to face her crew. "We have 3 options," she announced. "We can risk an encounter with the approaching vessels. We can attempt to outrun them using conventional engines. Or..." She paused, her gaze sweeping across their faces. "We can take a chance on the Cynthian technology." Gary felt the weight of history pressing down on them. Whatever they chose, he knew their decision would ripple across the galaxy, altering the course of human and Ledosian civilization forever. As the senior staff gathered to debate their next move, Gary found his eyes drawn to Asha. She stood tall, her hybrid form a testament to the unknown potential that lay before them. In that moment, he realized that their journey, both personal and cosmic, was only just beginning. The unidentified vessels drew closer, their mysterious origins and intentions looming like storm clouds on the horizon. The crew of the Endeavour stood at the crossroads of history, poised to make a decision that would shape the future of interstellar relations. Captain Rodriguez's voice cut through the tension. "We need to make a choice, people. And we need to make it now. Now." Before the captain could finish her sentence, the ship's sensors blared to life with an urgent warning. Commander Harper's fingers flew across his console, his eyes widening as he processed the incoming data. "Captain, we've got a new situation," he reported, his voice tense. "Long-range sensors are detecting a massive energy surge from a nearby star system. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." Captain Rodriguez strode to Harper's station, her brow furrowing as she examined the readouts. "Can you identify the source?" Harper shook his head. "Negative, Captain. But whatever it is, it's putting out enough energy to outshine the star it's orbiting." Asha stepped forward, her hybrid features seeming to shimmer in the light of the bridge. "Captain, I can feel it. There's something familiar about that energy signature." Dr. Sullivan moved to Asha's side, medical tricord already in hand. "What do you mean? You can feel it?" Before Asha could respond, Rodriguez made her decision. "We need to investigate this. It could be the key to understanding what's happening out here." She turned to the helm. "Set a course for that star system. Maximum warp." As the Endeavour streaked through space, the bridge crew worked feverishly to gather more data on their destination. Asha stood at the science station, her enhanced senses allowing her to process information at an unprecedented rate. "Captain," she called out, her voice filled with a mixture of excitement and trepidation, "I'm detecting a structure in orbit around the star. It's enormous." The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a sight that left the entire bridge crew speechless. A colossal ring-shaped megastructure spanned the width of the screen, its surface a patchwork of intricate designs and pulsing energy conduits. "My God!" Dr. Sullivan breathed. "It must be millions of kilometers in diameter." As the Endeavour approached the structure, Asha's body began to pulse with an otherworldly light. Her eyes widened, pupils dilating as she processed an influx of information beyond human comprehension. "It's Ledosian," she whispered, her voice distant. "Ancient Ledosian technology, designed to harness the power of dying stars." Before anyone could respond, a brilliant beam of energy erupted from the megastructure, engulfing the Endeavour in a blinding light. The ship shuddered violently. consoles exploding in showers of sparks as systems failed across the board. "We've lost main power," Harper shouted over the chaos. "Engines are offline, weapon systems down." In the midst of the crisis, Asha's body began to levitate, her form seeming to merge with the energy surrounding them. Without a word, she reached out and interfaced with the ship's remaining functional systems. "Asha, no!" Dr. Sullivan cried out, rushing to her side. But it was too late. Asha's consciousness had already merged with the ship, her hybrid nature allowing her to navigate the complex interplay of alien energies. Through her connection, Asha's voice echoed through the ship's comm system. The artifact. It's designed to facilitate evolutionary leaps. It's trying to communicate with us. Dr. Sullivan, monitoring Asha's vital signs, noticed alarming changes in her hybrid physiology. "Captain, the artifact's energy is causing rapid mutations in Asha's genetic structure. If we don't break free soon, she could lose her humanoid form entirely." Captain Rodriguez's mind raced, weighing their limited options. With an unshakable focus, she turned to Commander Harper. "Implement the Synthian propulsion technology. Now." Harper's eyes widened. "Captain, we haven't had time to properly test Dash." "That's an order, Commander." Rodriguez cut him off. "It's our only chance." As Harper worked feverishly to integrate the experimental drive system, Asha's voice continued to echo through the ship, her words becoming increasingly abstract and alien. "The energy. It's reshaping me. I can see everything." With a final burst of effort, Harper engaged the Synthian drive. The Endeavor lurched violently, then shot away from the artifact's energy beam at impossible speed. As they retreated to a safe distance, Asha's body slowly descended to the deck, her form still shimmering with residual energy. Dr. Sullivan rushed to her side, cradling her in his arms. "Asha, can you hear me?" Her eyes fluttered open, filled with a new depth of understanding. "Gary, I saw it all. The artifact, the Ladosians, the future of our species." Before she could elaborate, the ship's sensors came back online, revealing a startling development. The sector around them was suddenly alive with activity, as vessels from multiple alien races converged on the system. "Captain," Harper reported, his voice grim, "we've got company. Lots of it." Rodriguez surveyed the tactical display, her expression hardening as she recognized the gravity of their situation. Among the approaching ships, she spotted several vessels of distinctly Ladosian design. As the crew of the Endeavor grappled with this new development, Asha slowly rose to her feet, her hybrid form seeming to pulse with newfound power and purpose. "Captain," she said, her voice resonating with an otherworldly timbre, "I have a proposal, one that could change everything." All eyes turned to Asha as she began to outline her daring plan, the fate of multiple species hanging in the balance. The ancient Ladosian artifact loomed in the view screen behind her, a silent testament to the momentous decision that lay ahead. "Captain," Asha said, her voice resonating with newfound authority, "we must activate the artifact. It's the key to unlocking our shared potential." Captain Rodriguez's eyes narrowed as she considered Asha's words. The weight of command pressed heavily upon her shoulders as she surveyed the chaotic scene on the bridge. Consoles still sparked from the recent energy surge, and the view screen showed the looming presence of the ancient Ladosian structure. "Explain," Rodriguez demanded, her tone sharp. Asha's hybrid form seemed to pulse with an inner light as she spoke. "The artifact is designed to facilitate evolutionary leaps across multiple species. If we can harness its power under controlled conditions, we may be able to forge a new path for interstellar cooperation." Dr. Sullivan stepped forward, his medical tricorder whirring as he scanned Asha. "Captain, her hybrid physiology is still in flux. We don't know what further exposure to the artifact's energy might do." Rodriguez's mind raced, weighing the risks against the potential benefits. The approaching alien vessels added urgency to her decision. With a firm nod, she made her choice. "We'll do it," she announced, "but with strict safeguards in place. Sullivan, work with Asha to develop safety protocols. Harper, adapt our new Synthian tech to create a containment field. We need to minimize the artifact's effects on Asha's genetic structure." As the crew sprang into action, Rodriguez turned to the communication station. "Open an emergency channel to the approaching Ladosian ships. We need their cooperation for this to work." Minutes later, the captain found herself in a tense video conference with a stern-faced Ladosian commander. Rodriguez explained their situation succinctly, emphasizing Asha's unique position as a bridge between their species. The Ladosian commander's expression remained impassive. "You propose to activate an ancient technology you barely understand human. Why should we assist you in this reckless endeavor?" Rodriguez leaned forward, her gaze unwavering. "Because this artifact is part of your heritage, Commander, and because Asha represents the future of both our peoples. Together, we have a chance to unlock its secrets safely." After a long pause, the Ladosian commander inclined his head slightly. "We will cooperate, Captain Rodriguez. But know that we will not hesitate to intervene if the situation becomes unstable." With the alliance tentatively secured, the Endeavor moved into position near the massive ring structure. On the bridge, tension crackled like electricity. Dr. Sullivan stood beside Asha, encased in the experimental containment field, his fingers dancing over a medical console as he monitored her vital signs. "Containment field is holding steady," Harper reported from his station. "Synthian modifications are online and functioning within parameters." Rodriguez nodded, her eyes fixed on Asha. "Are you ready?" Asha's scales shimmered as she took a deep breath. "Yes, Captain. I'm initiating the interface now." As Asha connected with the artifact, the effect was immediate and awe-inspiring. The entire megastructure pulsed with brilliant energy, ripples of light cascading across its surface. Asha's body began to glow and lift off the deck, suspended within the containment field. "Energy buildup is off the charts," Harper called out, his voice tight with concern. "It's far beyond our initial estimates." Sullivan's eyes widened as he stared at his medical readouts. "Captain, Asha's hybrid physiology is undergoing rapid changes. I've never seen anything like this." Before Rodriguez could respond, a blinding pulse of energy erupted from the artifact, engulfing the entire star system. The Endeavor shuddered violently, consoles exploding in showers of sparks as systems overloaded. For a heart-stopping moment, the ship was plunged into total darkness. As emergency power flickered on, casting the bridge in an eerie red glow, the crew struggled to comprehend the sight before them. Through the viewports, they could see that every ship in the vicinity, including their own, now shimmered with a faint, iridescent glow reminiscent of Asha's scales. "Status report," Rodriguez barked, her voice cutting through the stunned silence. Harper's fingers flew over his partially functioning console. "All ships appear to be affected, Captain. I'm detecting subtle changes in the genetic structures of all organic life, forms exposed to the pulse." Rodriguez's gaze snapped to where Asha had been standing. The containment field had failed, and Asha lay unconscious on the deck, her form shifting and pulsing with residual energy. "Sullivan, get her to medical immediately," Rodriguez ordered, "and initiate a full quarantine of that deck. We need to understand what's happened before we risk further exposure." As Sullivan and a medical team rushed Asha off the bridge, Rodriguez turned to face the view screen. The artifact loomed before them, a silent testament to the momentous event that had just transpired. "Open a channel to all ships in the system," she commanded. "We need to convene an emergency conference. Whatever just happened, it's affected us all. We need to address this together. As the call went out and representatives from various alien races began to converge on the Endeavor, Rodriguez couldn't shake the feeling that they had just crossed a threshold from which there was no return. The genetic changes induced by the artifact's pulse had rewritten the rules of engagement for all species involved. In the medical bay, Sullivan worked feverishly to stabilize Asha's condition, his pupils dilating at the unprecedented changes in her hybrid biology. As he worked, he couldn't help but wonder, was this the dawn of a new era of interspecies understanding, or the first step towards an unfathomable conflict? The Endeavor, once a simple exploration vessel, now found itself at the center of a galactic upheaval. As alien delegates began to arrive for the hastily organized summit, the air thrummed with a mixture of fear, excitement, and suspicion. The next few hours would determine the course of interstellar relations for generations to come. The weight of responsibility settled heavily on Captain Rodriguez's shoulders as she prepared to face the gathering of alien representatives. As the delegates filed into the Endeavor's main conference room, a quiet tension filled the air. Rodriguez stood at the head of the table, her posture rigid and her eyes alert. She was about to address the assembled group when her communicator chirped urgently. "Captain, this is Sullivan. You need to get down here immediately." Rodriguez's eyes narrowed. "On my way," she replied tersely. Turning to the delegates, she said, "I apologize, but we'll need to delay our discussion briefly. Please remain here." She strode out of the conference room, leaving behind a chorus of murmurs and concerned glances. As she made her way to the medical bay, Rodriguez couldn't shake the feeling that whatever awaited her would drastically alter the course of their mission. The medical bay doors hissed open, revealing a scene of controlled chaos. Dr. Sullivan stood hunched over a biobed, his eyes fixed on a series of rapidly changing readouts. On the bed lay Asha, her form shifting and pulsing with an otherworldly energy. "What's happening?" Rodriguez demanded, moving swiftly to Sullivan's side. The doctor's voice was a mix of awe and concern. "It's incredible, Captain. The artifact's energy pulse has unlocked something in Asha's hybrid DNA. She's evolving." As if on cue, Asha's body began to shimmer. Her features blurred, then sharpened, cycling between her human hybrid appearance and her original Ladosian form. Rodriguez watched transfixed as Asha's scales rippled and changed color, her limbs elongating and retracting in a mesmerizing display of genetic malleability. "She's consciously controlling these changes," Sullivan explained, his fingers dancing across the medical console. "It's as if she's gained the ability to rewrite her own genetic code at will." Rodriguez's mind raced, considering the implications. "Is she stable?" Sullivan nodded. "For now, but the possibilities this presents. It's beyond anything we've ever encountered." Before Rodriguez could respond, the medical bay's comm system crackled to life. "Captain," Harper's voice rang out, tinged with urgency. "We've got a situation in the conference room. The Ladosian delegates are demanding access to Asha. They're getting agitated." Rodriguez's heart made. "Understood, Commander. Increase security around the medical bay. No one gets in without my direct authorization." She turned back to Sullivan. "Keep monitoring Asha. I need to deal with our guests." As Rodriguez left the medical bay, she was unaware of the shadow that detached itself from a nearby alcove, following her at a discreet distance. The captain had barely stepped into the conference room when a cacophony of voices assaulted her. The Ladosian representative, a tall, stern-faced individual named Stor, pushed to the front of the group. "Captain Rodriguez," he said, his voice carrying an undercurrent of awe-inspiring anger, "we demand to see the hybrid. She is the key to unlocking our species' true potential." Rodriguez held up a hand, her voice firm. "Asha is under medical observation. For her safety and the safety of everyone on this ship, access to the medical bay is restricted." Zaxlor's eyes narrowed. You have no right to keep her from us. She is Ladosian. She is a member of my crew, Rodriguez countered, her tone brooking no argument. The tension in the room reached a fever pitch. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. Harper's voice came over the comm system once more. Captain, we have intruders attempting to breach the medical bay. Rodriguez spun on her heel, racing out of the conference room. As she ran, she barked orders into her communicator. Security team to medical bay now. Harper, initiate ship-wide lockdown protocols. She rounded a corner to see a group of Ladosian scientists attempting to force open the medical bay doors. Chief of Security Marcus Perry and his team were already engaged, struggling to subdue the intruders without causing serious harm. Stand down, Rodriguez shouted, her hand hovering near her sidearm. This is a direct violation of our agreement. The lead Ladosian scientist, his eyes wild with fervor, turned to face her. You don't understand. The hybrid is the culmination of our evolutionary journey. We must study her, replicate her abilities. Before the situation could escalate further, a blinding flash of light erupted from within the medical bay. The door slid open, revealing Asha standing in the threshold. Her form shimmered and shifted, a living testament to the incredible changes she had undergone. Enough, Asha said, her voice resonating with newfound authority. I am not a specimen to be studied or a weapon to be wielded. I am the bridge between our peoples, and I will not be used to drive us apart. The Ladosian scientist fell back, awed by the display of Asha's evolved form. Rodriguez seized the moment, ordering her security team to escort the intruders to the brig as the corridor cleared. Rodriguez turned to Asha. Are you all right? Asha nodded, her form settling into a stable hybrid state. I am, Captain, but I fear our troubles are far from finished. As if in response to her words, the ship suddenly shuddered violently. Harper's voice came over the comm once more, his tone urgent. Captain, you need to get to the bridge. The artifact. It's changing. Rodriguez and Asha exchanged a look of understanding before racing towards the bridge. As they arrived, the view screen displayed a sight that took their breath away. The massive Ladosian artifact was collapsing in on itself, its ring-like structure twisting and reforming into a swirling vortex of energy. Status report, Rodriguez demanded, taking her place at the center of the bridge. Harper's fingers flew over his console. The artifact is generating an intense gravitational field. It's pulling in everything in the vicinity, including us. Rodriguez's mind raced, weighing their options. The Endeavor's engine strained against the growing pull of the artifact, but it was clear they couldn't break free using conventional means. Asha stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the swirling vortex. Captain, she said, her voice filled with a mixture of fear and excitement, I think I know what we need to do. As the crew of the Endeavor faced the transformed artifact and the unknown that lay beyond, the fate of not just their ship, but potentially entire civilizations, hung in the balance. The next decision would propel them into uncharted territory, both literally and figuratively, as they prepared to take a leap into the heart of a mystery that spanned millennia. The swirling vortex of energy engulfed the Endeavor, bathing the bridge in an otherworldly light. Captain Rodriguez gripped her chair as the ship shuddered violently, alarms blaring throughout the vessel. All hands, brace for impact, she shouted, her voice barely audible over the cacophony of groaning metal and failing systems. In a blinding flash, the Endeavor burst through the other side of the vortex. The view screen flickered to life, revealing an unfamiliar starscape stretching out before them. Status report, Rodriguez demanded, her eyes scanning the bridge for any signs of severe damage. Harper's fingers danced across his console. We've emerged in an unknown star system, Captain. Sensors are detecting a habitable planet nearby. As the ship system stabilized, the crew got their first clear view of the alien world. It was a breathtaking sight. Vast oceans of silvery liquid reflecting the light of a distant sun, land masses covered in bioluminescent vegetation that pulsed with an eerie, ethereal glow. "Establish a stable orbit," Rodriguez ordered. "We need to assess our situation and the condition of the crew." As the Endeavor maneuvered into position, Rodriguez turned to Asha, who stood transfixed by the sight of the alien planet. "How are you feeling?" Asha's form shimmered slightly, her scales rippling with residual energy. "I'm adapting, Captain. The changes to my physiology seem to have stabilized." "Report to Dr. Sullivan in Medical Bay," Rodriguez instructed. "We need to understand these changes better." In the Medical Bay, Sullivan's eyes widened as he ran a series of scans on Asha. "This is remarkable," he muttered, reviewing the data. "You've gained an unprecedented level of control over your genetic structure. You can shift between your Ladosian and human hybrid forms at will." Asha concentrated, and her form began to change. Her scales receded, replaced by smooth human skin, then reappeared moments later. "It's like instinct," she said, marveling at her newfound ability. "I can feel my body adapting to different environments, stresses." Sullivan nodded, his excitement nearly unleashed. "This could be invaluable for space exploration. Your body might be able to withstand conditions that would be lethal to the rest of us." As Asha and Sullivan continued their tests, reports began flooding in from across the ship. Crew members were experiencing heightened senses, increased strength, and improved reflexes. The genetic alterations initiated by the artifact's energy pulse had continued to progress. On the bridge, Harper approached Rodriguez with a grim expression. "Captain, I've completed a full systems diagnostic. The Synthian-enhanced propulsion system took a beating during our passage through the vortex. Our FDL capabilities are offline." Rodriguez's lips pursed. "How long until we can get it back online?" "Several days, at least," Harper replied. "We're essentially stranded here for the time being." Rodriguez nodded, processing the information. "Then we make the most of our time here. Prepare a series of unmanned probes. Let's see what we can learn about this planet while we're stuck here." As the probes were launched and began transmitting data, the crew gathered in the conference room to review the findings. The results were astonishing. The planet's ecosystem defied conventional categorization, with life forms that blurred the line between organic and inorganic matter. Asha leaned forward, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "Captain, I'd like to lead an away team to the surface. My adaptive physiology makes me the ideal candidate to interact safely with this environment." Sullivan, standing nearby, nodded in agreement. "I concur, Captain, and I'd like to volunteer to accompany her. We need someone to monitor these changes up close." Rodriguez considered the proposal carefully. Before she could respond, Harper interrupted with urgent news. "Captain, long-range sensors have detected an artificial structure on the planet's surface. It appears to be a massive dome, partially buried." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. An artificial structure meant the possibility of an advanced civilization or its remnants. "Very well," Rodriguez said, breaking the silence. "Asha, Dr. Sullivan, you have a go for the away mission. Take 2 security officers with you. Your primary objectives are to gather data on the planet's surface and investigate that structure, but proceed with extreme caution." As the away team prepared for their expedition, the rest of the crew worked tirelessly to repair the ship and analyze the data pouring in from the probes. The atmosphere on the Endeavor was electric, with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Hours later, the away team's shuttle descended through the planet's atmosphere. As they broke through the cloud cover, they were greeted by a landscape that seemed to defy reality. Towering crystalline plants stretched towards the sky, pulsing with internal light. The silvery oceans in the distance shimmered with an almost metallic sheen. The shuttle touched down in a clearing amidst the crystal forest. As the team exited the craft, Asha felt her body instinctively begin to adapt. Her skin took on a slight luminescence, mimicking the glow of the surrounding vegetation. "Fascinating," Sullivan murmured, running a scanner over Asha's changing form. "Your body is already adjusting to the local environment." As they cautiously made their way through the alien forest, the team's attention was drawn to movement in the distance. Emerging from behind the crystalline trunks were figures unlike anything they had ever encountered. Humanoid shapes composed of swirling energy and bioluminescent particles. "My God," one of the security officers whispered, his hand instinctively moving to his weapon. Asha held up a hand, signaling him to stand down. "No," she said softly. "They're not hostile. They're curious." The beings, which Sullivan quickly dubbed luminants, approached the team with an air of inquisitiveness. They seemed particularly fascinated by Asha, their energy patterns shifting and swirling as they observed her hybrid nature. Drawing on her newfound abilities, Asha reached out with her mind, projecting feelings of peace and curiosity. To her surprise, she felt a response, not in words, but in emotions and abstract concepts. I think I can communicate with them," Asha said, her voice filled with wonder. "Not precisely, but enough to convey our intentions." Through a combination of gestures and empathic projections, Asha managed to express the Endeavor's peaceful mission and their desire to learn about this new world. The luminant's response was immediate and clear. They began to move, indicating for the away team to follow them. As they traveled through the alien landscape, the massive dome structure came into view. It was an awe-inspiring sight, a smooth curved surface that seemed to be made of the same material as the crystalline plants, but on a monumental scale. As the group approached, the surface of the dome began to ripple and shift, revealing an entrance. The luminants gestured towards the opening, their intentions clear. Sullivan turned to Asha, his eyes wide with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "This could be our chance to uncover advanced technology or knowledge that could help us get home." Asha nodded, feeling a strange resonance between her hybrid biology and the alien structure. "I agree. We need to explore this." The security officers exchanged glances, their training warring with the unprecedented nature of the situation. "We advise caution," one of them said, "but we'll follow your lead." Asha activated her communicator. "Away team to Endeavor. We've made contact with indigenous life forms and have been led to the artificial structure. We're preparing to enter and investigate." Captain Rodriguez's voice crackled through the comm. "Understood, Asha. Proceed, but maintain constant contact. At the first sign of danger, I want you out of there. Be careful." With a deep breath, Asha stepped forward, leading the team through the shimmering entrance of the alien dome. As they crossed the threshold, the air around them seemed to vibrate with potential, the unknown stretching out before them like an uncharted sea. The team moved deeper into the structure, their path illuminated by the soft glow emanating from the walls. With each step, they ventured further into mystery, the secrets of this alien world waiting to be uncovered. Unveiled, the team stepped through the shimmering entrance, their senses overwhelmed by the alien environment that surrounded them. The interior of the dome was a marvel of organic architecture. Bioluminescent veins pulsed along the walls, casting a soft, ethereal glow throughout the vast chamber. Interconnected passages branched off in every direction, forming a labyrinth of alien design. Asha felt a strange resonance within her hybrid biology, as if the very air inside the dome was alive with energy. She led the way, her newly enhanced senses guiding her through the maze-like structure. Dr. Sullivan's eyes darted from one marvel to another, his scientific curiosity awe-inspiring. "This technology," he whispered, running his hand along a pulsating wall. "It's unlike anything we've ever encountered." The security officers, Tyler and Ramirez, maintained a vigilant watch, their weapons at the ready despite the apparent absence of immediate threats. As they ventured deeper into the dome, the passages widened, leading them to a vast central chamber. At its heart stood a towering crystalline structure, its facets shimmering with an inner light. "It looks like some sort of control interface," Asha said, approaching the crystal. Her fingers hovered mere inches from its surface, drawn by an inexplicable urge to make contact. Sullivan's voice carried a note of caution. "Asha, wait. We should." But it was too late. Asha's fingers brushed against the crystal, and in that instant, everything changed. Energy surged through her body, causing her to glow with an intensity that rivaled the luminance themselves. The entire chamber hummed to life, responding to her touch. A holographic display erupted from the crystal, filling the air with swirling images and alien symbols. Asha's eyes widened as information flooded her mind, bypassing language and speaking directly to her consciousness. "I can see their history," she gasped, her voice filled with wonder. "The luminants. They're the result of perfect symbiosis between organic life and advanced technology. This dome, it's not just a structure, it's a living archive, a guardian of their civilization." Sullivan stepped closer, fascinated by the display. "Can you tell us more about its purpose?" Asha's brow furrowed in concentration. "It's a repository of knowledge, but also a defense system. It's designed to protect the luminants from external threats." As the words left her mouth, a low rumble shook the chamber. The crystal interface pulsed with increased energy, and Asha found herself unable to break contact. "Something's happening," she said, her voice strained. "I think I've activated some kind of dormant program." The security officers exchanged worried glances. "We should return to the Endeavor," Ramirez suggested, his hand tightening on his weapon. Sullivan moved to Asha's side, concern etched on his face. "Asha, you need to disengage. This could be dangerous." He reached out, grasping her shoulder in an attempt to pull her away from the interface. The moment his skin made contact with hers, a jolt of energy coursed through them both. Sullivan stumbled backward, his body tingling with an odd sensation. "Gary!" Asha cried out, finally breaking her connection with the crystal. She rushed to his side, her hybrid senses detecting the rapid changes occurring within his body. Sullivan blinked rapidly, his vision sharpening to an impossible degree. He could suddenly hear the heartbeats of everyone in the room, feel the vibrations of the dome's energy through the soles of his feet. I feel different," he murmured, flexing his hands as new strength surged through his muscles. Before they could fully process what had happened to Sullivan, their communicators crackled to life. Captain Rodriguez's voice came through, laden with urgency. "Away team, do you copy? We're detecting a massive energy field forming around the planet. What's your status?" Asha tapped her comm badge. "Captain, we've made contact with some kind of central control system." I may have inadvertently triggered a planetary defense protocol. "We're also picking up multiple unidentified objects approaching the planet at high speed," Rodriguez reported. "Whatever you've activated down there, it's drawn attention. We need you back on the Endeavor now." The team shared a look of growing alarm. The situation had escalated far beyond their expectations, and the consequences of their actions were only beginning to unfold. Suddenly, the luminants who had guided them to the dome reappeared, their energy patterns swirling with agitation. Through a combination of gestures and empathic projections, they conveyed a sense of urgency and distress. Asha's eyes widened as she interpreted their message. The dome's activation. It's disrupting the balance of their ecosystem. We've put their entire civilization at risk. Sullivan, still adjusting to his enhanced senses, stepped forward. "We can't leave things like this. There must be a way to stabilize the system, to protect the luminants without destroying their world." He turned to Asha, a determined look in his eyes. "What if we interface with the dome together? With your hybrid nature and my new abilities, we might be able to fine-tune the defenses without causing further harm." Asha hesitated, weighing the risks. "It could work, but it's dangerous. We don't fully understand this technology or what it's done to us." The security officers shifted uncomfortably. "Dr. Sullivan, Miss Asha," Tyler interjected. "With all due respect, we're out of our depth here. We should return to the ship and let the captain decide our next move." But Asha and Sullivan's eyes met, a silent understanding passing between them. The shared experience of their transformations, the weight of responsibility for their actions, and the growing connection between them all coalesced into a moment of clarity. "We have to try," Asha said softly. "We can't abandon the luminance to face this alone." Sullivan nodded, reaching out to take her hand. As their fingers intertwined, their bodies began to glow with a combined energy, human, Ladosian, and luminant, all merging into something entirely new. Together, they approached the crystal interface once more. The fate of an entire civilization hung in the balance as they prepared to merge their enhanced beings with the alien technology. The approaching ships, the disrupted ecosystem, and the unknown consequences of their actions all converged into this singular moment. As Asha and Sullivan's hands touched the crystal surface, the dome's energy surged around them. The security officers and luminants watched in awe as the two began to merge with the interface, their forms becoming translucent and filled with swirling light. The real challenge was just beginning, as Asha and Sullivan delved deeper into the alien systems, seeking a way to protect this world without destroying it. Their minds expanded into the vast network of the dome, racing against time to find a solution before the approaching ships arrived, and the delicate balance of the luminant world was irrevocably shattered. As Asha and Sullivan's consciousness merged with the dome systems, a sudden surge of energy coursed through the structure, causing the crystalline walls to vibrate with an otherworldly hum. The security officers stumbled back, shielding their eyes from the intensifying glow emanating from Asha and Sullivan's translucent forms. The luminance swirled around them, their patterns shifting in mesmerizing waves of light and color. Suddenly, the air crackled with static, and a series of complex energy patterns erupted from the dome, spreading rapidly through the atmosphere. The team's communicators came to life with a cacophony of sounds, a mix of alien languages, mathematical equations, and musical tones. "What's happening?" Tyler shouted, his voice barely audible over the din. Ramirez's eyes widened as he studied his tricorder. It's some kind of universal translation field. The energy patterns are creating a bridge between different forms of communication. As if on cue, the communicators chime with an incoming transmission. Captain Rodriguez's voice cut through the noise, tinged with urgency and confusion. "Away, team. Are you receiving this? We're picking up transmissions from the approaching vessels. They're talking to us." Before anyone could respond, a new voice filled the chamber, deep, resonant, and decidedly alien. "Greetings, inhabitants of the luminous world. We are the Consortium, travelers of the cosmic seas. We come in peace, drawn by the beacon of your awakening dome." Asha and Sullivan, still merged with the dome's interface, experienced a flood of information. Images of vast fleets of ships, diverse alien species, and advanced technologies flashed through their shared consciousness. They saw the Consortium's journey across the stars, their search for allies and knowledge, and their excitement at discovering the reactivated dome. As their minds intertwined, Asha and Sullivan found themselves lost in a whirlpool of shared memories and emotions. Childhood fears, moments of triumph, and deeply buried desires all bubbled to the surface. In this space between minds, They saw each other with perfect clarity, their strengths, their flaws, and the undeniable attraction that had been growing between them. Back on the Endeavor, Captain Rodriguez gripped the arms of her chair, her mind racing as she processed the implications of this first contact. This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the Starship Endeavor. We welcome you in the spirit of peaceful exploration. Our away team has inadvertently activated an ancient structure on the planet's surface. We seek your assistance in understanding its purpose and mitigating any unintended consequences. As the diplomatic exchange unfolded in orbit, the situation on the planet's surface grew increasingly unstable. The energy field generated by Asha and Sullivan's connection with the dome was having unforeseen effects on the luminant ecosystem. Bioluminescent plants began to grow at an alarming rate, their tendrils stretching towards the sky in a matter of minutes. The silvery oceans churned and frothed, massive waves crashing against the shorelines and threatening the delicate structures of the luminant settlements. The luminants themselves pulsed with agitation, their swirling patterns becoming erratic and disjointed. Through their empathic connection, Asha and Sullivan could sense the creature's growing distress. We need to disengage, Sullivan's thoughts echoed in their shared mindscape. We're causing too much damage. Asha's consciousness brushed against his, filled with concern. I agree, but how? I can't seem to break the connection. They attempted to pull away from the interface, but each try sent shockwaves of pain through their hybrid bodies. The dome systems had integrated too deeply with their altered physiology, creating a symbiotic link that resisted separation. As Asha and Sullivan struggled within the dome, Commander Harper's voice crackled through the communicators. Captain, I have a potential solution, but it's risky. We can use the Synthian enhancements to generate an energy pulse that might disrupt the connection between Asha, Sullivan, and the dome, but it could push our engines beyond their limits. Rodriguez's voice was tense as she replied, Do it, Jack. We're out of options. The Endeavor descended into low orbit, its hull gleaming in the light of the alien sun. Inside the engine room, Harper worked feverishly, rerouting power and pushing the ship's systems to their breaking point. Initiating energy pulse in 3, 2, 1. A beam of concentrated energy burst from the Endeavor, striking the dome with pinpoint accuracy. The structure shuddered, its crystalline surface rippling like water. Inside, Asha and Sullivan felt a massive jolt, as if their very atoms were being pulled apart. In their final moments of connection, a torrent of information flooded their minds. They saw the true purpose of the dome, a vast library of knowledge collected from civilizations across the galaxy. The Luminants were its caretakers, evolved to safeguard this cosmic wisdom. With a deafening crack, Asha and Sullivan were thrown free of the interface. They collapsed to the ground, gasping for air as their bodies readjusted to individual existence. The security officers rushed to their side, helping them to their feet as the dome system slowly stabilized. As the chaos subsided, the Luminants approached. Their bodies pulsed with a new intensity, and through their enhanced empathic abilities, Asha and Sullivan could sense a mixture of gratitude and concern emanating from the creatures. One Luminant moved closer, its tendrils of light reaching out to gently brush against Asha and Sullivan. In that touch, they understood the Luminants were offering to share their vast knowledge in exchange for help in managing their rapidly evolving ecosystem. Before they could fully process this offer, their communicators crackled to life once more. Captain Rodriguez's voice was strained as she delivered the news. Away team, the energy pulse severely damaged our propulsion systems. We're stuck in orbit with limited power. And the consortium ships. They're entering the atmosphere now. Asha and Sullivan exchanged a look, their bodies still tingling from the lingering effects of their transformation. The challenges before them were immense, repairing the Endeavor, negotiating with the consortium, and helping the Luminants adapt to their changing world. As they prepared to face these trials, Asha felt Sullivan's hand slip into hers. The touch sent a spark of shared consciousness between them, a reminder of the profound connection they now shared. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. The first consortium ship broke through the cloud cover, its sleek form casting a shadow over the dome. As it descended, Asha and Sullivan stood side by side, ready to bridge the gap between worlds and navigate the uncharted waters of this new frontier. The consortium ship touched down gracefully beside the dome, its sleek form dwarfing the crystalline structure. As the ship's landing ramp extended, Asha and Sullivan exchanged a look of apprehension mixed with excitement. "Ready?" Sullivan asked, giving Asha's hand a gentle squeeze. She nodded, her newly enhanced senses picking up the faintest tremor in his voice. Together, before they could take a step forward, their communicators chimed with an urgent message from Captain Rodriguez. "Asha, Dr. Sullivan, we need you back on the Endeavor immediately. The situation has escalated beyond our initial assessment." Sullivan tapped his comm badge. "Understood, Captain. We're on our way." As they prepared for transport, the luminance surrounded them, their swirling patterns conveying a mix of gratitude and concern. Asha reached out, her fingers brushing against the tendrils of light. In that brief contact, she sensed the creature's willingness to help and their hope for a continued alliance. "We'll be back," she promised, her voice carrying the weight of her newfound connection to this world. Moments later, they materialized on the Endeavor's transporter pad. The familiar hum of the ship's systems felt different to their altered senses, each sound and vibration carrying new layers of information. Commander Harper greeted them, his face etched with worry. "The captain's waiting for you in the conference room. We've got a lot to discuss." As they made their way through the corridors, Asha and Sullivan became acutely aware of the stares and whispers from the crew. Their transformation was evident, their skin still faintly glowing with residual energy from the dome. They entered the conference room to find Captain Rodriguez deep in conversation with a holographic projection of a consortium representative. The alien's form shifted and shimmered, its features a constantly changing pattern of light and shadow. Rodriguez turned to them, relief evident in her eyes. "Asha, Dr. Sullivan, thank you for coming so quickly. We need your expertise in these negotiations." The next few hours were a whirlwind of diplomatic discussions. Asha and Sullivan found themselves acting as intermediaries, their enhanced empathic abilities allowing them to bridge the communication gap between the humans, luminance, and consortium delegates. As the talks progressed, the true scope of their situation became clear. The Endeavor was stranded, its propulsion system severely damaged by the energy pulse that had freed Asha and Sullivan from the dome. The consortium, while willing to help, had their own agenda. They were on a mission to collect and preserve knowledge from advanced civilizations across the galaxy. "We have detected a disturbing pattern," the consortium representative explained, its form rippling with concern. "Entire star systems are disappearing, their knowledge and cultures lost forever. We seek to preserve what we can before it's too late." This revelation sent a chill through the room. Captain Rodriguez leaned forward, her voice tight with tension. "Are you saying our own systems could be at risk?" The consortium delegates form pulsed an affirmation. "The phenomenon is unpredictable but spreading. Your expedition may have stumbled upon a key piece of the puzzle." As the implications of this news sank in, Dr. Lena Perry, the ship's chief medical officer, entered the conference room. Her eyes widened as she took in Asha and Sullivan's altered appearance. "Captain, I need to examine them immediately," she insisted. "Their physiologies may have undergone significant changes." Rodriguez nodded, understanding the urgency. "Asha, Dr. Sullivan, report to sickbay. We'll continue the negotiations and brief you on any developments." In sickbay, Dr. Perry ran a series of scans, her expression a mix of fascination and concern. "Your genetic structures have stabilized, but with remarkable enhancements," she explained, showing them the results on a nearby screen. Increased strength, heightened senses, and something else. Sullivan leaned in, his scientific curiosity piqued. What do you mean? Dr. Perry pointed to a series of rapidly changing data points. Your physiologies seem to be synchronizing. It's as if your bodies are gradually aligning on a cellular level. Asha and Sullivan exchanged a look, the implication of this development hanging unspoken between them. Their connection, already profound from their shared experience in the dome, was becoming even deeper. Before they could discuss it further, Commander Harper's voice came over the intercom. Dr. Sullivan, we need you in engineering. We're assessing the damage to the propulsion system and could use your insight. As Sullivan left for engineering, Asha found herself drawn to the window, gazing down at the bioluminescent planet below. She could sense the luminance, their presence a faint but persistent glow in her mind. The weight of responsibility settled on her shoulders. They had changed this world, and now they had to help protect it. In engineering, Sullivan worked alongside Harper and his team, his enhanced abilities allowing him to interface directly with the ship systems. The damage was extensive, far beyond their current capabilities to repair. We're going to need help, Harper admitted, frustration evident in his voice. And not just any help. We need technology beyond what we currently possess. Sullivan nodded, his mind already racing with possibilities. The consortium, their ships, their knowledge. It might be our only chance. As they formulated a plan to approach the consortium for assistance, Asha found herself in another round of negotiations with the Luminants. The creatures, fascinated by the hybrid nature of Asha and Sullivan, proposed a cultural exchange program. They want to share their knowledge of bioengineering, Asha explained to Captain Rodriguez later. In exchange, they're offering to send some of their own to join our crew and learn about space exploration. Rodriguez considered the proposal, weighing the potential benefits against the risks. It could be an incredible opportunity, she mused. But we need to ensure the safety of all involved. As the day wore on, the Endeavour became a hub of frenetic activity. Consortium engineers began arriving, their advanced technology mingling with the ship's familiar systems. Luminant scientists prepared for their journey into the stars, their excitement palpable even to those without enhanced empathic abilities. Amidst the chaos, Asha and Sullivan finally found a moment alone. They stood in the observation lounge, the bioluminescent planet, casting a soft glow through the windows. "How are you holding up?" Sullivan asked, his hand finding hers. Asha intertwined her fingers with his, feeling the now familiar spark of their shared consciousness. "It's overwhelming," she admitted. "Everything's changing so fast." Sullivan nodded, understanding etched in every line of his face. "I know, but whatever comes next, we'll face it together." As they stood there, taking comfort in each other's presence, the ship's long-range sensors suddenly lit up with activity. A massive energy disturbance, several light-years distant, caught everyone's attention. Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the intercom, tension evident in her tone. "Senior staff to the bridge immediately. We may have just detected the cosmic event the consortium warned us about." Asha and Sullivan shared a look of grit. Whatever this new threat was, they knew they were uniquely equipped to face it. As they made their way to the bridge, the Endeavour hummed with renewed purpose, its crew ready to embark on their most dangerous mission yet. As the Endeavour senior staff gathered on the bridge, the tension was palpable. The massive energy disturbance detected by the long-range sensors loomed like an ominous cloud on the horizon, demanding their immediate attention. Captain Rodriguez turned to Asha and Sullivan, her expression grave. "We need to investigate this phenomenon. Your unique abilities make you the best candidates to lead this mission." Sullivan nodded, his mind already racing with possibilities. "We'll need to gather more data before we can formulate a plan of action." As the crew dispersed to begin preparations, Asha and Sullivan found themselves alone in the turbolift. The confined space seemed to amplify the electric current that had been building between them since their shared experience in the dome. Sullivan's hand brushed against Asha's, sending a jolt of shared consciousness between them. "We should discuss the mission parameters," he said, his voice low and husky. Asha nodded, her heart racing. "My quarters." The moment the door to Asha's quarters slid shut, the carefully maintained professional facade crumbled. Sullivan pulled Asha close, their lips meeting in a kiss that sent waves of sensation coursing through their bodies. Their enhanced physiology amplified every touch, every caress, creating a feedback loop of pleasure and connection. For Asha, the experience was overwhelming. Her Ladosian biology had never prepared her for the intensity of human physical intimacy. She gasped as Sullivan's hands roamed her body, each touch igniting new sensations. "Gary," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I've never. This is—" Sullivan paused, his eyes searching hers. "We can stop if you want." Asha shook her head, pulling him closer. "No, I want this. I want you." Their coupling was a symphony of sensation, their hybrid physiologies harmonizing in ways neither had thought possible. As they lay entwined in the aftermath, their bodies still humming with residual energy, Asha felt a profound shift in her understanding of human relationships. Their moment of bliss was shattered by the insistent chirp of their communicators. Captain Rodriguez's voice cut through the air. "Asha, Dr. Sullivan, report to sickbay immediately." In sickbay, Dr. Perry's face was a mask of professional concern as she reviewed the results of their latest scans. "Your physiologies have undergone further changes," she explained, her eyes darting between Asha and Sullivan. "And Asha, there's something else." Asha's hand instinctively went to her abdomen as Dr. Perry continued. "Your body is showing signs of a unique form of hybrid pregnancy. It's unlike anything I've ever seen before." The news hit them like a shock wave. Sullivan's face paled, his legs shaking with the implications. Asha stood frozen, her enhanced senses suddenly hyper-aware of the changes occurring within her body. Before they could fully process this revelation, the ship's alert system blared to life. Captain Rodriguez's voice echoed through the comm system. "All hands, prepare for immediate departure. The energy disturbance is causing gravitational anomalies that threaten to destabilize our orbit." The next hours were a whirlwind of activity. As the Endeavour systems were pushed to their limits to break free of the planet's increasingly unstable orbit, debates raged over Asha's role in the upcoming mission. "It's too dangerous," Dr. Perry argued, her voice rising with frustration. "We have no idea how this pregnancy will progress or what risks it might pose." Asha stood her ground, her mind focused. "My abilities are crucial to this mission. We can't afford to sideline me now." As the arguments intensified, a group of luminants approached, their bodies pulsing with an idea. Through their enhanced empathic abilities, Asha and Sullivan understood their proposal. A specialized containment suit that would protect Asha and allow her to participate in the mission safely. Captain Rodriguez, weighing the risks against the potential benefits, made her decision. Dr. Sullivan will lead the away team. "Asha, you'll guide them from a specially designed command center here on the Endeavour. It's the best compromise we can manage under the circumstances." As the ship broke orbit, its systems humming with a blend of human, consortium, and luminant technologies, Asha took her place in the newly constructed hybrid command center. The containment suit enveloped her body, its biosensors providing a constant stream of data on her evolving condition. Sullivan stood at the head of the away team, his expression a mix of purpose and concern as he gazed at Asha. Through their shared connection, he sent a wave of reassurance. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. The Endeavour accelerated towards the affected star system, carrying its diverse crew into the unknown. As the ship entered warp, Asha's enhanced senses picked up a faint, rhythmic pulse beneath the usual hum of the engines. It took her a moment to realize what it was. The sound of new life growing within her, a tiny heartbeat that represented both incredible potential and unknown danger. The vast expanse of space stretched out before them, holding both the key to saving countless worlds and the next chapter in Asha and Sullivan's evolving story. As the Endeavor raced towards its destiny, the crew steeled themselves for the challenges that lay ahead, knowing that the fate of entire civilizations might rest on the success of their mission. The Endeavor raced towards its destiny, the fate of entire civilizations resting on the success of their mission. As they approached the affected star system, the ship's sensors began detecting increasingly severe gravitational distortions. "Activate Synthean-enhanced shields," Captain Rodriguez ordered, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. The experimental technology hummed to life, enveloping the ship in a protective barrier. The Endeavor's hull creaked and groaned under the strain as they pushed deeper into the system. Asha, secured in her specialized hybrid command center, felt the vibrations through her containment suit. She closed her eyes, focusing on the connection between her enhanced body and the ship's systems. Suddenly, a three-dimensional holographic representation of the star system materialized on the main bridge. The crew watched in awe as Asha's unique abilities brought the cosmic landscape to life before their eyes. "My God!" Commander Harper breathed, his eyes fixed on the swirling vortex of energy at the system's center. Surrounding it were the fragmenting remains of several planets, their debris caught in the maelstrom's pull. Dr. Sullivan's voice crackled over the comm system. "Captain, we're ready to launch the shuttle." "Proceed with caution, Doctor," Rodriguez replied, her gaze never leaving the holographic display. "The gravitational eddies out there are treacherous." As Sullivan's team navigated through the turbulent space, Asha monitored their progress through her hybrid interface. She could sense the shuttle's movements as if they were extensions of her own body. Suddenly, alarms blared across the shuttle's control panel. "Captain, we're experiencing system malfunctions," Sullivan reported, his voice tense. "The radiation from the terraforming device is interfering with our tech." Back on the Endeavor, Asha's containment suit began to glow with an otherworldly light. Dr. Perry's voice cut through the commotion on the bridge. "Captain, the hybrid embryo is reacting to the energy signature. Its growth rate has accelerated dramatically." Asha gasped, her hands instinctively moving to her abdomen. She could feel the life within her pulsing with newfound energy, growing at an impossible rate. "We need to consider the possibility that the child may be born much sooner than anticipated," Dr. Perry continued, her voice tinged with concern. As the situation grew more complex, Commander Harper approached Captain Rodriguez. "Captain, I think we have a solution. We can use the Endeavor Synthean-enhanced propulsion system to generate a controlled implosion, collapsing the energy vortex." Rodriguez's eyes narrowed. "What are the risks?" Harper hesitated before responding. "If not executed perfectly, we could potentially create a black hole." The captain nodded grimly. "Understood. Begin preparations." Meanwhile, Sullivan's team had discovered the remnants of an ancient alien outpost on a small, rocky moon orbiting the vortex. As they explored the ruins, Sullivan's eyes widened at the sight of intricate hieroglyphics covering the walls. "This must have been a control center for the terraforming system," he muttered, his mind racing as he began to decipher the alien language. Aboard the Endeavor, Asha's connection to the ship's systems intensified. Fragmented visions flooded her mind, glimpses of an ancient civilization, their hopes and fears, the creation of the terraforming device, and their ultimate decision to abandon it. Her reverie was shattered as the energy vortex suddenly expanded, threatening to engulf the Endeavor. Captain Rodriguez's voice rang out, "Initiate Harper's implosion plan now." As the ship moved into position, Asha found herself intuitively understanding the complex calculations required for the maneuver. Her hybrid physiology allowed her to process and interpret the data at an unprecedented speed. Suddenly, a searing pain tore through Asha's body. Her containment suit ruptured, exposing her to the ship's atmosphere. The hybrid embryo within her responded to the stress, its growth accelerating even further. Dr. Perry rushed to Asha's side, her face pale with worry. The pregnancy is progressing too rapidly. We need to stabilize her condition. On the alien outpost, Sullivan worked feverishly to initiate the shutdown sequence for the terraforming system. As he input the final command, the ancient machinery began to overload, threatening to explode and take the entire star system with it. "Captain," Sullivan's voice crackled over the comm, "the device is going critical. We're out of time." Rodriguez's face was a mask of perseverance as she made her decision. "Dr. Sullivan, continue the shutdown sequence. We'll proceed with the implosion maneuver simultaneously. It's our only chance." As the energy vortex reached critical mass, Asha channeled all her strength into guiding both the ship and the away team. The strain pushed her body to its limits, her accelerated pregnancy progressing at an alarming rate. "Captain," Dr. Perry warned, "continuing the interface could endanger both Asha and the child." But there was no time for hesitation. Sullivan activated the alien outpost's emergency protocols, creating a temporary energy barrier around the terraforming device. Commander Harper initiated the Cynthian drive, sending a focused beam of energy directly into the heart of the vortex. A blinding flash of light engulfed the star system. The Endeavour shuddered violently as the implosion began, its crew bracing for impact. Asha's mind was awash with sensory input, her hybrid body struggling to process the overwhelming data. As the light began to fade, the ship's sensors slowly came back online. The crew held their breath, waiting to see the outcome of their audacious attempt. The fate of the star system, the Endeavour, and its crew hung in the balance, with the imminent birth of Asha and Dr. Sullivan's hybrid child adding a personal stake to the unfolding drama. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing the transformed star system before them. The crew stared in awe at the result of their actions, their minds racing with the implications of what they had just witnessed and the challenges that surely lay ahead. Ahead, with the imminent birth of Asha and Dr. Sullivan's hybrid child adding a personal stake to the unfolding drama. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing the transformed star system before them. The blinding flash of light gradually subsided, unveiling a swirling nebula of colorful gases and debris where the energy vortex had once been. The crew exhaled collectively, their relief palpable in the tense silence of the bridge. Captain Rodriguez's voice cut through the moment of respite. "Full system diagnostic now. I want to know every scratch on this ship." As the crew bustled into action, alarms blared from the medical bay. Dr. Perry's voice crackled over the comm system, her usual calm replaced by urgent tension. "Captain, we need Dr. Sullivan here immediately. Asha's condition is critical." In the medical bay, Asha lay on a biobed, her body convulsing as the hybrid pregnancy accelerated at an alarming rate. The damaged luminant containment suit pulsed erratically, its bioluminescent components struggling to adapt to her rapidly changing physiology. Dr. Perry and her team worked feverishly, their hands flying over medical instruments as they attempted to stabilize Asha's condition. "We need to prepare for an emergency delivery," Perry announced, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. On the shuttle, Dr. Sullivan received the urgent transmission. His face paled as he processed the news. "We're returning to the Endeavour immediately," he ordered, his fist clenched as he gripped the shuttle's controls. The small craft swerved and ducked through the treacherous gravitational eddies still present in the system. Sullivan pushed the engines beyond their safety limits, the shuttle groaning under the strain as they raced back to the Endeavour. As they approached the ship, a new crisis emerged. Commander Harper's voice filled the bridge, his tone grave. "Captain, the Star. It's destabilizing. Sensors indicate an imminent supernova." Captain Rodriguez's fist tight as she assessed their options. The Synthian-enhanced propulsion system, still reeling from the implosion maneuver, flickered and sputtered as it attempted to recharge. "How long until we can jump?" she demanded. Harper shook his head. "At least 30 minutes, Captain. But the shockwave from the supernova will reach us in 20. In the medical bay, Asha's labor intensified. Dr. Perry adapted her techniques on the fly, her mind racing to account for the hybrid embryo's unique physiology. "Push, Asha," she encouraged, her voice steady despite the sweat beading on her brow. Asha gritted her teeth, her body racked with pain as she struggled to bring her child into the world. The ship systems fluctuated wildly, power surging and ebbing in tune with Asha's contractions. Dr. Sullivan burst into the medical bay, his eyes wide as he took in the scene. He rushed to Asha's side, grasping her hand tightly. "I'm here," he whispered, his voice choked with emotion. As Asha gave one final, monumental push, a surge of energy coursed through the ship. The newborn's first cry coincided with a sudden stabilization of the Endeavour systems. Dr. Sullivan cradled the infant, his breath catching as he beheld his child for the first time. The baby's skin shimmered with a subtle bioluminescence, its eyes holding a depth that seemed to contain universes. As Sullivan held the child close, a bubble of calm descended over the ship, creating a moment of serenity amidst the chaos. On the bridge, Captain Rodriguez seized the opportunity. "Harper, divert all power to the Synthian drive. We're leaving now." The Endeavor's engines roared to life, propelling the ship away from the collapsing star system. As they raced ahead of the expanding shockwave, the crew watched in awe as a new nebula formed from the remnants of a destroyed star. The swirling patterns of gas and energy bore an uncanny resemblance to the bioluminescent markings on the hybrid child's skin. The implications of this connection hung unspoken in the air as the Endeavour sped towards safety. As the immediate danger passed, Captain Rodriguez set a course for the nearest safe harbor. The crew's relief at their narrow escape was tempered by the weight of their new reality. The existence of Asha and Sullivan's hybrid child posed questions that would reshape their understanding of interspecies relations and the very nature of life in the galaxy. In the medical bay, Dr. Sullivan gently placed the newborn in Asha's arms. As she gazed at their child, her eyes filled with a mix of wonder and apprehension. The infant's eyes seemed to hold secrets of the universe, a bridge between worlds that no one had ever thought possible. "What do we do now?" Asha whispered, her voice hoarse from the ordeal. Sullivan squeezed her hand, his eyes never leaving their child. "We protect them, we learn from them, and we face whatever comes next together." As news of the birth spread throughout the ship, a palpable shift in energy rippled through the crew. Some gathered in small groups, their voices hushed as they discussed the implications of this unprecedented event. Others made their way to the medical bay, drawn by an inexplicable desire to witness this new life for themselves. Captain Rodriguez stood on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the stars streaking by on the screen. She knew that the existence of this hybrid child would attract attention from various factions across the galaxy. Their mission of exploration and discovery had just become infinitely more complex. As the Endeavour continued its journey into the unknown, the crew prepared themselves for the challenges that lay ahead. The hybrid child slept peacefully in the medical bay, unaware of the profound impact its very existence would have on the future of interstellar relations and the fate of multiple species across the cosmos. The Endeavour's journey through space continued, its course set for the nearest safe harbor. The ship hummed with a mixture of excitement and apprehension as news of the extraordinary birth spread through the crew. In the medical bay, Asha and Dr. Sullivan cradled their newborn child, marveling at the infant's shimmering skin and eyes that seemed to hold the depths of the cosmos. Dr. Perry approached the new parents, her face a mask of professional concern. "I need to run some additional tests on the baby," she said, her voice gentle but firm. The hybrid physiology is unlike anything we've ever seen before. As Dr. Perry began her examination, the child's skin pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, causing the nearby medical equipment to flicker and hum in response. Dr. Sullivan's eyes widened as he observed the phenomenon. "Fascinating," he murmured. His scientific curiosity piqued despite his emotional state. Captain Rodriguez's voice crackled over the comm system. "Dr. Sullivan, please report to the bridge immediately. We need to discuss our next steps." Reluctantly, Sullivan squeezed Asha's hand and left the medical bay. On the bridge, he found Rodriguez and Commander Harper huddled over a display, their faces etched with concern. "Doctor," Rodriguez began, "we need to implement strict security protocols for your child. The implications of this birth are significant." Sullivan nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "What do you propose, Captain?" As they discussed the security measures, alarms blared throughout the ship. Commander Harper's hands flew over the controls. "Captain, we're experiencing power fluctuations across all decks." In the medical bay, the infant began to cry, its wails coinciding with surges of energy that pulsed through the ship's systems. Asha held the child close, her eyes wide with a mixture of wonder and fear. Dr. Perry's voice came over the comm. "Captain, you need to see this. The baby, it's growing at an exponential rate." Rodriguez, Sullivan, and Harper rushed to the medical bay, where they found a scene of controlled chaos. The infant, now the size of a toddler, sat on the bio-bed, its eyes fixed on the pulsing lights of the medical equipment. "This is unprecedented," Dr. Perry explained, her voice tight with stress. "At this rate of growth, we could be dealing with an adult in a matter of days." Sullivan approached his child, his scientific mind racing to comprehend the situation. "Hello, little one," he said softly. "Do you understand us?" The child turned its gaze to Sullivan, and a wave of energy swept through the room, causing the lights to flicker. In that moment, Sullivan felt a connection, a wordless understanding that left him breathless. "Nova," Asha whispered, the name coming to her unbidden. "We should call the child Nova." As the crew grappled with the implications of Nova's rapid growth, the ship's long-range sensors detected an approaching vessel. Commander Harper's voice was tense as he reported, "Captain, unknown ship on an intercept course. No match in our database." Rodriguez straightened, her mind shifting to tactical concerns. "Battle stations," she ordered. "Let's hope they're friendly, but prepare for all scenarios." As the crew scrambled to their positions, Nova's growth continued unabated. The child now appeared to be the equivalent of a young adolescent, its eyes filled with an otherworldly intelligence. The unknown ship drew closer, its sleek design unlike anything the Endeavor's crew had encountered before. Suddenly, a transmission cut through the tense silence on the bridge. "Greetings, Endeavor." A melodious voice resonated through the speakers. "We are the Zephyrians. We come seeking the one whose energy signature shines, like a beacon across the stars." Rodriguez exchanged glances with Sullivan before responding. "This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the Endeavor. We're on a peaceful mission of exploration. May I ask your intentions?" The Zephyrian voice replied, "We seek only to meet the hybrid child born of two worlds. We have long awaited such a union." As Rodriguez considered her response, Nova's presence on the ship continued to cause unexpected reactions. In engineering, Commander Harper struggled to maintain stability as systems activated and deactivated seemingly at random. "Captain," Harper's stressed voice came over the comm, "we need to do something about these energy fluctuations. The ship can't take much more of this." Rodriguez made her decision. "Very well, Zephyrians. We'll allow a small delegation to board. But be warned, any hostile action will be met with force." As the Endeavor prepared to receive its otherworldly visitors, tension mounted among the crew. Security Chief Marcus Perry and his team took up positions throughout the ship, their weapons at the ready. In the medical bay, Nova had grown into a young adult. Its features a perfect blend of human and Ladosian characteristics. Asha and Sullivan stood protectively near their child, uncertain of what the coming encounter would bring. The Zephyrian delegation materialized on the bridge, their translucent forms shimmering with vibrant colors. The leader, a being of swirling azure energy, stepped forward. "I am Ethereal Lumina," the being announced, its voice resonating through the air. "We have journeyed far to witness the miracle of successful hybridization between corporeal beings." As Lumina spoke, Nova entered the bridge, drawn by an inexplicable connection to the energy beings. The moment Nova's presence registered, the Zephyrians began to pulse with increasing intensity, their forms shifting and solidifying. The crew watched in awe as the energy beings transformed, taking on more substantial forms. Lumina's azure energy coalesced into a humanoid shape, its eyes wide with wonder. This is unexpected," Lumina said, examining her now solid hands. "Your child has awakened something long dormant within our species." Nova approached the Zephyrians, a look of recognition in its eyes. As it reached out to touch Lumina's hand, a burst of energy surged through the ship, momentarily overloading its systems. In the ensuing moment of darkness, the crew of the Endeavor found themselves facing a new reality. The hybrid child's existence had not only changed their lives, but had now altered the very nature of an alien species. As the emergency lights flickered on, illuminating the mix of human, Ladosian, and newly corporeal Zephyrian faces, the true scope of the challenges ahead began to dawn on them all. As the emergency lights stabilized, Captain Rodriguez assessed the situation on the bridge. The newly corporeal Zephyrians stood before her, their forms still shimmering with residual energy, while Nova's presence seemed to hum with untapped potential. The captain knew that the challenges they faced were a long way to go. "Ethereal Lumina," Rodriguez addressed the Zephyrian leader, "we need to discuss our next steps. Your unexpected transformation complicates matters significantly." Before Lumina could respond, Commander Harper's voice crackled over the comm system. "Captain, we're approaching the Coalition space station. They're hailing us." Rodriguez straightened her uniform. "Put them through, Commander." The main screen flickered to life, revealing the stern face of a Coalition official. "Endeavor, this is Station Control. We've detected anomalous energy signatures aboard your vessel. You are to remain at a safe distance and prepare for immediate quarantine procedures." The captain's mind raced, weighing her options. She opened her mouth to respond, but Nova stepped forward, eyes fixed on the screen. The Coalition official's image wavered, distorting as if viewed through a heat haze. "Nova, stand back," Asha called out, reaching for her child. But it was too late. Nova's eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, and suddenly the ship's system surged. Displays flickered, and the engines thrummed with increased power. The Endeavor lurched forward, closing the distance to the station at an alarming rate. "Harper, what's happening?" Rodriguez demanded, gripping the arms of her chair. "I don't know, Captain," Harper replied, his fingers flying over the controls. "It's as if the ship is responding to Nova's thoughts. I can't override it." The Coalition official's face contorted with alarm. "Endeavor, halt your approach immediately, or we will be forced to take defensive action." Rodriguez turned to Lumina. "Can you do anything to stop this?" The Zephyrian leader nodded, her newly solid features set with dedication. She approached Nova, placing a hand on the child's shoulder. A pulse of energy passed between them, and Nova's eyes returned to normal. The ship's system stabilized, and their approach slowed. "I apologize for the alarm," Rodriguez addressed the Coalition official. "We're experiencing some unique circumstances. I request permission to dock and discuss the situation in person." The official's eyes narrowed. Negative, Endeavor. Given the unknown nature of your situation, we're implementing emergency quarantine protocols. You will not be permitted to dock until we've assessed the potential risks. Rodriguez nodded, understanding the gravity of their predicament. Acknowledged. Station control. We'll comply with your quarantine procedures. As the communication ended, Rodriguez turned to her crew. Harper, initiate emergency protocols. Seal off non-essential areas of the ship and create a quarantine zone. Dr. Perry, I need you to oversee the medical aspects of this quarantine. Pay special attention to Nova's condition. Aye, Captain. Harper and Dr. Perry responded in unison. Rodriguez faced Asha and Dr. Sullivan. I understand this is a difficult situation for your family, but we need to work together to ensure everyone's safety. Nova's abilities are growing faster than we anticipated, and we need to find a way to stabilize them. Sullivan nodded, his face etched with concern. We'll do whatever is necessary, Captain, but we need to protect Nova as well. Of course, Rodriguez assured him. That's our top priority. As the crew dispersed to carry out their tasks, Rodriguez pulled Commander Harper aside. Jack, I need you to work on modifying our shields. We need to create a containment field that will satisfy the Coalition's requirements while still allowing us some flexibility. Harper ran a hand through his hair. It won't be easy, Captain. Our power systems are already strained, but I'll see what I can do. As Harper left to begin his work, Rodriguez noticed Security Chief Marcus Perry approaching, his expression grim. Captain, we're seeing an increase in tensions among the crew, Perry reported. Some are expressing concerns about Nova and the Zephyrians. I've increased security patrols, but I'm worried this could escalate. Rodriguez sighed, feeling the weight of command pressing down on her. Keep a close eye on the situation, Marcus. We can't afford any internal conflicts right now. In the medical bay, Dr. Perry worked alongside Asha and Dr. Sullivan to monitor Nova's condition. The child, now appearing to be around 7 or 8 years old, sat quietly on a biobed, eyes darting around the room with intense curiosity. Nova's growth rate is still accelerating, Dr. Perry reported, studying the readings on her medical tricorder. At this rate, we could be dealing with an adult in a matter of days. Asha squeezed Sullivan's hand, her voice trembling. What can we do to slow it down? Before Dr. Perry could respond, ethereal Lumina entered the medical bay, her newly corporeal form still adjusting to its solid state. I may have a solution, she offered, her voice resonating with a hint of its former energy. With your permission, we could attempt to create a specialized containment field around Nova using a combination of our energy manipulation techniques and your ship's syntheon-enhanced systems. Dr. Perry's eyebrows rose. That's an intriguing idea, but how would it work? As Lumina began to explain the intricacies of proposed treatment, alarms blared throughout the ship. Commander Harper's voice came over the comm system, tension evident in his tone. Captain to the bridge. Long-range sensors have detected an incoming fleet. Unknown origin. Using advanced stealth technology. They're almost within weapons range of the station. Rodriguez's voice crackled through the speakers. Battle stations, everyone. It seems our quarantine just became the least of our problems. In the medical bay, Nova's eyes began to glow once more, responding to the ship's heightened state of alert. The child's voice, tinged with an otherworldly resonance, echoed through the room. I can help, Nova said, standing up from the biobed. I can see the ships. I can make them visible. Asha and Sullivan exchanged worried glances, knowing that the next few moments could change everything. As the Endeavor prepared to face this new threat, the fate of the ship, its crew, and perhaps the entire Coalition hung in the balance. Balance. As the emergency lights stabilized, alarms blared throughout the ship, jolting everyone on the bridge into action. Captain to the bridge. Long-range sensors have detected an incoming fleet. Unknown origin. Using advanced stealth technology. They're almost within weapons range of the station. Commander Harper's voice crackled over the comm system. Rodriguez's eyes narrowed as she processed the information. Battle stations, everyone. It seems our quarantine just became the least of our problems. The captain strode to her command chair, her movements quick and purposeful. Harper, activate all defense systems. Coordinate with coalition forces to establish a united front. As the crew scrambled to their positions, Nova's eyes began to glow with an otherworldly light. The child's voice, tinged with an ethereal resonance, echoed through the bridge. I can help. I can see the ships. I can make them visible. Rodriguez exchanged a quick glance with Asha and Dr. Sullivan, who had followed Nova onto the bridge. She nodded, deciding to trust the child's abilities. All right, Nova. Show us what you can do. Nova stepped forward, placing a hand on the nearest console. The ship system surged to life, displays flickering with new information. Commander Harper's eyes widened as he interpreted the data. Captain, Nova's enhancing our sensors. I'm implementing the modifications to disrupt the incoming fleet stealth technology. The main view screen lit up with a dazzling array of energy signatures, revealing the positions of the previously cloaked vessels. Ethereal lumina moved to Nova's side, her newly corporeal form shimmering with residual energy. We can amplify Nova's abilities through your ship's modified shields, she offered. Rodriguez nodded, her decision made in an instant. Do it. As Nova and the Zephyrians worked in tandem, channeling their hybrid abilities through the Endeavor systems, a pulse of energy swept across space. The Coalition's defense grid immediately locked onto the exposed ships. They're identified as a rogue faction of the Consortium, Security Chief Marcus Perry reported, his voice tense. Looks like they're after Nova and the Zephyrians. Before Rodriguez could respond, the space around them erupted in a storm of weapons fire. The rogue Consortium fleet opened fire on the station, their energy weapons streaking across the void. Evasive maneuvers, Rodriguez ordered. Intercept those shots. We can't let them hit the station. The Endeavor lurched into motion, its movements smoother and faster than ever before. Nova's connection to the ship allowed for unprecedented maneuverability, anticipating and countering enemy attack patterns within human speed and precision. As the battle raged, Dr. Lena Perry's voice cut through the chaos on the bridge. Captain, Nova's vitals are fluctuating dangerously. The strain of interfacing with the ship systems is taking a toll on their hybrid biology. We need to find a way to stabilize them, or we risk a potentially fatal collapse of their genetic structure. Asha's face set with willpower. She turned to Dr. Sullivan, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. I have an idea. It's risky, but it might be our only choice. Sullivan listened intently as Asha outlined her plan to link her own biology with Nova's through a modified containment field. His initial hesitation gave way to grudging agreement as he realized the potential benefits outweighed the risks. Dr. Perry, Sullivan called over the comm. We need to modify the containment field to accommodate both Asha and Nova. Can you make it happen? I'll do my best, Perry replied, her voice strained but determined. Get them to the medical bay immediately. As Asha and Nova were escorted off the bridge, Rodriguez refocused on the battle at hand. The Endeavor's shields flared as they absorbed another barrage of enemy fire, the Synthian-enhanced systems deflecting much of the energy. Harper, status report. Rodriguez demanded, gripping the arms of her chair as the ship shuddered under another impact. Shields holding at 68%, Captain, Harper replied, his fingers flying over his console. But we can't take much more of this. Suddenly, the ship system surged with newfound power. The shields regenerated at an unprecedented rate, and the weapon systems fired with pinpoint accuracy. On the main view screen, Rodriguez watched in awe as several enemy ships were disabled in rapid succession. "What's happening?" she asked, her voice filled with a mixture of surprise and hope. Harper's face lit up with understanding. "It's Asha and Nova, Captain. Their symbiosis is amplifying our capabilities beyond anything we've seen before." As the Endeavor weaved through the enemy formation with impossible grace, drawing their fire and sowing chaos in their ranks, Security Chief Perry's voice cut through the din of battle. "Captain, I've identified a weak point in their formation," he reported. "If we can exploit it, we might be able to end this quickly." Rodriguez's mind raced, formulating a plan. "All right, let's make this count. Harper, I need you to execute a series of complex maneuvers. Use Nova and Asha's enhanced control to push our systems to the limit." As the Endeavor danced through space, the Coalition forces concentrated their fire on the weak point Perry had identified. Within moments, several key ships in the Rogue Consortium fleet were crippled, their burning hulks drifting helplessly in the void. The remaining enemy vessels, their advantage lost, and their forces in disarray, began to retreat. A cheer went up on the Endeavor's bridge as the immediate threat dissipated. Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile before turning her attention to the aftermath. "Stand down from Red Alert. Harper, begin damage assessment. Perry, coordinate with the Coalition forces for any needed assistance." As the adrenaline of battle faded, Rodriguez's thoughts turned to the extraordinary events that had unfolded and the challenges that lay ahead. The Coalition authorities would undoubtedly have questions about Nova, the Zephyrians, and the Endeavor's enhanced capabilities. "Commander," she addressed Harper, "prepare a full report on our ship's performance during the battle. We're going to have a lot of explaining to do." With a sigh, Rodriguez stood from her chair, straightening her uniform. "I'll be in the medical bay checking on Asha and Nova. You have the bridge, Commander." As she made her way through the ship's corridors, Rodriguez couldn't shake the feeling that this battle, as intense as it had been, was only the beginning of a much larger conflict. The Endeavor and its crew had proven themselves in combat, but the real challenge would be navigating the political and ethical minefield that awaited them. The doors to the medical bay slid open, revealing a scene of controlled chaos. Dr. Perry and her team worked feverishly around the shimmering containment field that housed Asha and Nova. As Rodriguez approached, she could see the subtle changes in their appearance, a faint bioluminescence reminiscent of the Zephyrians. "Doctor," Rodriguez called out, "what's their status?" "Doctor," Rodriguez called out, "what's their status?" Dr. Perry looked up from her console, her brow furrowed with concentration. "They're stable for now, Captain, but the symbiosis is progressing at an unprecedented rate. Asha and Nova's genetic structures are intertwining in ways we've never seen before." Rodriguez approached the containment field, studying the shimmering forms within. Asha and Nova's bodies pulsed with a soft, ethereal light, their features subtly altered by the bioluminescence. Nova, once a small child, now appeared closer to a preadolescent, their growth accelerated by the recent events. "Can they hear us?" Rodriguez asked, her voice low with concern. Dr. Perry nodded. "They're conscious, but in a state of deep mental connection. I wouldn't recommend disturbing them just yet." As if on cue, Nova's eyes fluttered open, their gaze immediately locking onto Rodriguez. The captain felt a sudden, gentle pressure in her mind, a telepathic touch. "Captain," Nova's voice echoed in Rodriguez's thoughts. "We need to talk." Before Rodriguez could respond, the medical bay door slid open, revealing a stern-faced Coalition official flanked by 2 security officers. "Captain Rodriguez," the official announced, "I'm Admiral Thorne. The Coalition leadership requests your immediate presence for an emergency meeting." Rodriguez straightened, her expression hardening. "I'm in the middle of a medical situation, Admiral. Can this wait?" Thorne's eyes narrowed. "I'm afraid not, Captain. The events of the recent battle have raised significant concerns among coalition leadership. Your ship's performance, the child's abilities, and the integration of Zephyrian technology are all matters of utmost importance. With a resigned sigh, Rodriguez nodded. Very well. Dr. Perry, keep me updated on their condition. I'll be back as soon as I can. As Rodriguez followed Admiral Thorne out of the medical bay, she tapped her communicator. Commander Harper, Dr. Sullivan, and Ethereal Lumina, meet me in the station's conference room immediately. It seems we have some explaining to do. The Coalition Space Station's conference room buzzed with tension as Rodriguez and her team faced a panel of stern-faced officials. Admiral Thorne took his place at the center, his gaze sweeping across the Endeavor's representatives. Captain Rodriguez, Thorne began, his voice clipped. Please explain how your ship was able to neutralize an entire rogue consortium fleet with such unprecedented efficiency. Rodriguez leaned forward, her hands clasped on the table. Admiral, as I'm sure you're aware, the Endeavor has been equipped with experimental Synthian-enhanced systems. During the battle, we discovered that Nova's unique abilities could amplify these systems beyond our initial projections. A murmur rippled through the assembled officials. A coalition scientist, his eyes bright with curiosity, spoke up. And what exactly are the extent of Nova's abilities? Before Rodriguez could answer, Dr. Arcturus Vex, a tall, austere man with piercing gray eyes, stepped forward. If I may, Admiral, he said, his voice smooth and measured, I believe I have a proposal that could benefit all parties involved. Thorne nodded, gesturing for Vex to continue. I suggest we conduct a series of controlled tests on Nova, Vex explained, his gaze sweeping across the room. This would allow us to better understand and potentially replicate the child's unique abilities. In exchange, we offer access to our advanced research facilities and a commitment to share any breakthroughs that could benefit both Nova and the wider galactic community. Dr. Sullivan tensed, his protective instincts flaring. And what assurances do we have that these tests would be safe for Nova? Vex smiled, a thin, practiced expression. Of course, Dr. Sullivan. We will work closely with you and your team to ensure Nova's safety and comfort throughout the process. The child's well-being is our paramount concern. As the discussion continued, Rodriguez noticed Ethereal Lumina shifting uncomfortably, her newly corporeal form shimmering with unease. Is something wrong? Rodriguez whispered. Lumina leaned closer, her voice low. Captain, I sense a growing discord among my people. Our prolonged exposure to Nova and your ship systems is causing changes. Some Zephyrians are developing more individualized forms, moving away from our traditional energy state. It's causing tension within our group. Rodriguez frowned, realizing the situation was growing more complex by the moment. She was about to respond when her communicator chirped urgently. Captain, Harper's voice crackled through, tension evident in his tone. We have a situation. I've detected unauthorized access attempts in restricted areas of the ship, particularly around our Synthian-enhanced systems. The intruders appear to be Coalition scientists. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to Rodriguez. She stood slowly, her voice steady but firm. Admiral Thorne, it seems we have a breach of trust to address before we can continue these negotiations. Thorne's face flushed with a mix of anger and embarrassment. I assure you, Captain, if any Coalition personnel have overstepped their bounds, they will be dealt with severely. As the meeting dissolved into heated arguments and accusations, Rodriguez's mind raced. She knew that the next few hours would be crucial in determining the fate of her crew, Nova, and perhaps the balance of power in the galaxy. In the medical bay, Asha stirred within the containment field, her consciousness slowly surfacing from the deep connection with Nova. As her eyes opened, she found herself face to face with her child, now appearing far older than their chronological age. Mom! Nova spoke, their voice resonating with newfound depth. I know what they want to do, and I think I want to participate in their tests. Asha's heart clenched with fear and pride. As she opened her mouth to respond, alarms blared throughout the station, signaling yet another crisis looming on the horizon. The station rocked as explosions echoed through its structure, and a fleet of imposing warships emerged from hyperspace, their weapons already charging. Red alert! Rodriguez barked, sprinting towards the nearest turbolift. All hands to battle stations. As she raced back to the Endeavor, Rodriguez's calm crackled to life. "Captain," Harper's voice came through, tense and urgent. "Coalition forces are attempting to lock onto us with tractor beams. We need to leave now." Rodriguez burst onto the bridge, her eyes scanning the tactical display. "Get us out of here, Harper. Maximum warp." The Endeavor's engines roared to life, propelling the ship away from the chaos erupting at the Coalition station. But as they accelerated, the sensors lit up with new contacts. "Captain," the tactical officer reported, "multiple small craft breaking off from the larger ships. They're in pursuit and closing fast." Rodriguez gripped the arms of her chair as the ship shuddered under the strain of its sudden acceleration. "Evasive maneuvers. Harper, activate the new Zephyrian defense system." Commander Harper's fingers flew across his console, initializing the hybrid technology. A shimmering, pulsating energy field enveloped the Endeavor, deflecting the majority of the incoming tractor beams. Despite their enhanced defenses, one of the pursuing vessels managed to latch onto the Endeavor's aft section. The ship lurched violently, and suddenly, the artificial gravity failed. Crew members found themselves floating weightlessly, grasping for handholds. In the medical bay, Nova's eyes snapped open. Without a word, the child reached out, their hybrid abilities instinctively manipulating the local gravitational field. Throughout the ship, crew members felt their feet touch the deck once more as a semblance of normalcy returned. "Harper, shake that ship off our tail," Rodriguez ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Push the engines to their limits if you have to." The Endeavor banked hard, performing a series of complex maneuvers that strained the ship's structural integrity. In engineering, Asha and Dr. Sullivan worked feverishly, manually rerouting power to maintain the ship's defenses and propulsion. "Asha," Sullivan called out over the din of overworked systems, "we need more power to the aft shields." Asha nodded, her hands dancing across the control panel. "Rerouting power from non-essential systems now." As the chase continued, the tactical display showed the pursuing fleet beginning to splinter. Some ships peeled off, returning to the Coalition station, while others formed smaller groups that seemed to have different objectives. "Captain," Harper reported, his brow furrowed, "it looks like we're dealing with multiple factions now. They all want a piece of us." Rodriguez's mind raced, considering their options. Before she could formulate a plan, Dr. Perry's voice came through the comm. "Captain, Nova has a suggestion," Perry said, her tone a mix of concern and excitement. "They want to create a localized wormhole to help us escape." Rodriguez hesitated, weighing the risks. "Is that even possible?" "Theoretically, yes," Perry replied. "But the strain on Nova's physiology could be severe. We'd need to carefully control the process." After a moment's consideration, Rodriguez made her decision. "Do it, but monitor Nova's condition closely. If there's any sign of danger, abort immediately." The bridge crew worked in concert with the engineering team, modifying the ship systems to channel and amplify Nova's abilities. In the medical bay, Asha sat beside Nova, their minds linked, providing a stabilizing influence as the child prepared to manipulate the fabric of space-time. As Nova began the process, the pursuing ships intensified their attack, realizing their quarry was attempting to escape. The Zephyrians, led by ethereal lumina, formed a protective energy barrier around Nova, shielding the child from the psychic backlash of their reality-altering efforts. Suddenly, a new contact appeared on the tactical display. A sleek, advanced vessel of unknown design cut through the chaos of the battle with impossible speed and agility. "Captain," the communications officer called out, "we're being hailed by the new vessel. They're identifying themselves as the Galactic Concord?" Before Rodriguez could respond, a swirling vortex of energy blossomed into existence before the Endeavor. Nova had succeeded in creating a stable wormhole. "All hands, brace for wormhole transit." Rodriguez commanded, "Helm, take us in." The Endeavor plunged into the swirling maw of energy, leaving behind the pursuing fleet and the mysterious new arrival. As they entered the wormhole, the ship shuddered violently, its hybrid system straining to maintain structural integrity. In the medical bay, Nova's body convulsed, the strain of maintaining the wormhole taking its toll. Asha and Dr. Sullivan rushed to the child's side, working with Dr. Perry to stabilize Nova's fluctuating hybrid biology. Time seemed to stretch and distort as the Endeavor traversed the wormhole. Then, with a final lurch, they emerged on the other side. The view screen showed an unfamiliar star field, with no recognizable constellations or navigational markers. "Report," Rodriguez called out, her voice hoarse. Harper scanned his readings, his expression grave. "Captain, we're in uncharted space. Long-range sensors detect no immediate threats, but our power reserves are critically low." As the crew began to assess their situation, Dr. Perry's urgent voice came through the comm. "Medical Beta Bridge. Nova's condition is deteriorating rapidly. We need to stabilize them immediately." Rodriguez looked out at the unfamiliar stars, the weight of their predicament settling on her shoulders. They had escaped immediate danger, but at what cost? And what new challenges awaited them in this unexplored region of space? Space. The tension on the bridge was palpable as the crew grappled with their new reality. "Status report," Rodriguez commanded, her voice steady despite the gravity of their situation. Harper's fingers danced across his console. "Power reserves at 12%, Captain. Life support systems are stable, but we're burning through our remaining energy at an alarming rate." Rodriguez nodded grimly. "Implement emergency rationing protocols. We need to conserve every joule of energy we can." As the crew scrambled to adjust to their new circumstances, Dr. Perry's voice crackled over the comm once more. "Captain, Nova's condition is critical. We've managed to stabilize them for now, but we need a more permanent solution." "Understood, Doctor. Do whatever you can to keep Nova stable. We'll find a way out of this." Over the next few days, the Endeavor drifted through the uncharted space, its crew working tirelessly to adapt to their dire circumstances. Commander Harper led a team in modifying the life support systems, pushing the limits of their engineering expertise to extend their limited resources. In the medical bay, Dr. Perry and her team worked around the clock, monitoring Nova's fluctuating vital signs. They had placed the child in a modified stasis pod, hoping to slow the deterioration of their hybrid physiology. Asha and Dr. Sullivan took turns sitting vigil by Nova's side, their faces etched with worry. During one of her shifts, Asha noticed a slight tremor in Nova's hand. "Dr. Perry," she called out, hope flickering in her voice. "I think I saw movement." Perry rushed over, her eyes scanning the monitors. "There's increased neural activity, but it's still far below normal levels. We need to find a way to jumpstart their recovery." As the medical team focused on Nova, the rest of the ship began experiencing unsettling malfunctions. Lights flickered ominously, and critical systems stuttered without warning. On the bridge, Rodriguez frowned as yet another system failure alert flashed across her screen. "Harper, what's going on with our systems?" The commander's brow furrowed as he analyzed the data. "It's the Synthian enhancements, Captain. They're becoming unstable without Nova's influence. It seems the child was unconsciously maintaining the balance between our various hybrid technologies. Before Rodriguez could respond, ethereal Lumina materialized on the bridge, her form shimmering with an otherworldly light. Captain, I believe we may have a solution, though it comes with considerable risk. Rodriguez turned to face the Zephyrian leader. Go on. My people could attempt to link our energy forms with your ship systems, Lumina explained. We might be able to mimic Nova's stabilizing effect. However, this process could further alter our physiology, potentially trapping us in corporeal forms. Rodriguez considered the proposal, weighing the risks against their increasingly desperate situation. Are your people willing to take that chance, Lumina? The Zephyrians form pulse with tenacity. We are. We understand the gravity of our situation and are prepared to make the sacrifice if necessary. With a heavy heart, Rodriguez gave the order. The Zephyrians began interfacing with the Endeavor's core systems, their ethereal bodies intertwining with the ship's circuitry. The effect was almost immediate. The flickering light steadied and the constant hum of the engine smoothed out to a reassuring purr. However, as the procedure continued, several Zephyrians found themselves unable to disengage from the ship systems. Their once fluid forms solidified, trapping them in physical bodies. Lumina, now permanently corporeal, approached Rodriguez. The process was successful, Captain, but at a great cost. Many of my people can no longer return to their energy state. Rodriguez placed a comforting hand on Lumina's shoulder, feeling the solid form beneath her fingers. Your sacrifice won't be forgotten, Lumina. We'll find a way to help your people, I promise. As the crew adjusted to this new development, the tactical officer's voice cut through the somber atmosphere. Captain, long-range sensors are detecting a faint energy signature. It bears similarities to coalition technology. Rodriguez straightened, a spark of hope igniting in her eyes. Plot a course for that signature. It might be our best chance at finding help or supplies. The Endeavor altered its trajectory, venturing deeper into the unknown. Days passed as they approached the mysterious energy source, each hour stretching the ship's resources to their limits. In the medical bay, Asha and Dr. Sullivan worked tirelessly, driven by their concern for Nova. They developed a theory that controlled exposure to the ship's hybrid systems might accelerate Nova's recovery. It's risky, Sullivan admitted, running a hand through his disheveled hair. But given Nova's unique physiology, it might be our best option. Asha nodded, her eyes never leaving her child's motionless form. We have to try. Nova's strong. They can pull through this. As they prepared to implement their plan, the ship's sensors detected something massive looming ahead. The view screen filled with the image of an enormous derelict vessel, its hull a bizarre fusion of sleek metal and organic growth. My God, Harper breathed, his eyes wide. That's the source of the energy signature? Rodriguez leaned forward, studying the alien ship. Seems so. Prepare an away team, Commander. We need to investigate this. As Harper assembled the team, including Dr. Sullivan and two newly corporeal Zephyrians, Asha made a startling discovery in the medical bay. Nova's vital signs began to fluctuate, seeming to resonate with the strange energies emanating from the derelict ship. Dr. Perry, Asha called out, her voice a mix of excitement and concern. Something's happening with Nova. Perry rushed over, her eyes darting between Nova and the monitors. These readings. It's as if Nova is responding to the alien ship. We need to monitor this closely. As the away team prepared to board the derelict vessel, the crew of the Endeavor found themselves on the cusp of a discovery that could change everything. The answers they sought might lie within the mysterious ship, but so too could untold dangers. With resources dwindling and Nova's condition in flux, the stakes had never been higher. Rodriguez watched as the away team's shuttle departed, her mind racing with possibilities and potential pitfalls. Whatever they found aboard that alien vessel would determine not only their fate, but possibly the future of the entire galaxy. As the Endeavor approached the massive derelict vessel, the away team prepared for their mission. Commander Harper, Dr. Sullivan, and two newly corporeal Zephyrians boarded the shuttle, their hearts racing with a mix of anticipation and apprehension. The shuttle carefully maneuvered through the debris field surrounding the alien ship, its hull a bizarre fusion of sleek metal and organic growth. As they drew closer, the team could see strange, pulsating veins of energy coursing through the structure. "Initiating docking sequence," Harper announced, his hands steady on the controls. With a soft thud, the shuttle connected to an airlock on the derelict surface. As the away team made their way into the alien vessel, Dr. Sullivan's attention was immediately drawn to a nearby chamber. Through a translucent barrier, he could see a stasis pod eerily similar to the one containing Nova back on the Endeavor. "Commander," Sullivan called out, his voice tinged with excitement, "you need to see this." Harper and the Zephyrians joined Sullivan as he approached the pod. Inside, they could make out the silhouette of a humanoid figure. Sullivan pulled out his portable scanner, running it over the pod surface. His eyes widened as he analyzed the readings. "This is incredible. The being inside. Its genetic structure is remarkably similar to Nova's hybrid physiology." Intrigued, Sullivan began accessing the pod's control systems, his fingers dancing across the alien interface. "If I can just bypass these security protocols, we might be able to gather more information about this being's origins." Meanwhile, aboard the Endeavor, Asha sat vigilantly by Nova's side in the medical bay. Suddenly, she noticed a change in the child's vital signs. Nova's body began to emit a faint, pulsating glow, synchronized with the energy fluctuations detected from the derelict ship. "Dr. Perry," Asha called out, her voice urgent. "Something's happening with Nova." Dr. Perry rushed over, her eyes darting between Nova and the monitors. "These readings are off the charts. It's as if Nova is responding to the alien ship somehow." Asha immediately contacted Captain Rodriguez, relaying the unexpected development. Rodriguez's voice crackled over the comm. "Keep a close eye on Nova's condition, Dr. Perry. Prepare for the possibility of the child awakening. We need to be ready for anything." Back on the derelict ship, Commander Harper led the two Zephyrians deeper into the vessel's interior. They came across a vast chamber filled with holographic displays and data terminals. "This must be some kind of database," Harper mused, his eyes scanning the alien symbols scrolling across the screens. "If we can access this information, it could be invaluable." As the team worked to download the data, the ship's ancient systems suddenly sprang to life. Mechanical tendrils emerged from the walls, snaking towards the intruders. "Look out!" Harper shouted, dodging a tendril that lashed out at him. The Zephyrians, still adjusting to their corporeal forms, struggled to evade the mechanical appendages. In the stasis pod chamber, Dr. Sullivan had finally managed to bypass the pod security measures. As the opening sequence initiated, he stepped back, his heart pounding in anticipation. The pod hissed open, revealing a female humanoid with striking similarities to both Nova and Asha. Her eyes fluttered open, disorientation evident in her gaze. She attempted to speak, her words a melodious but incomprehensible string of sounds. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the Endeavor. In the medical bay, Nova's stasis pod began to malfunction, its systems overloading from the child's surging energy levels. "We're losing containment," Dr. Perry shouted, her team scrambling to stabilize the situation. Despite their efforts, the pod's field failed with a burst of energy. Nova's eyes snapped open, glowing with an otherworldly light. The child sat up, surrounded by a shimmering aura of energy. Without a word, Nova began moving purposefully towards the ship's airlock. Asha, driven by her maternal instincts and the telepathic link she shared with Nova, made a split-second decision. "Captain," she called out to Rodriguez, "I need to go with Nova. Something's drawing them to the alien ship." Rodriguez, weighing the risks against the unprecedented situation, gave her approval. "Take a shuttle and a security team. Be careful, Asha. We don't know what we're dealing with here." As Asha and Nova boarded the shuttle, escorted by a wary security team, the situation on the derelict ship grew more chaotic. Harper and the Zephyrians fought against the relentless mechanical tendrils, their movements becoming more desperate with each passing moment. The shuttle carrying Asha and Nova docked with the alien vessel, just as Dr. Sullivan was attempting to communicate with the being from the stasis pod. The ship's corridors echoed with the sounds of struggle and the whirring of active systems. Nova, moving with purpose, led Asha directly to the chamber where the away team was battling the ship's defenses. As they entered, Nova raised a hand towards the writhing mechanical tendrils. A pulse of energy emanated from the child, causing the alien technology to shudder and retract. The being from the stasis pod, now fully alert, locked eyes with Nova. Recognition flashed across her face as she approached the child. With a gentle touch to Nova's forehead, an exchange of energy began between them. The derelict ship hummed to life around them, holographic displays activating throughout the vessel. Dr. Sullivan, his scientific curiosity overriding his shock, began analyzing the newly accessible data. "This is extraordinary," he breathed, his eyes wide with wonder. "This ship, it belongs to a race called the progenitors. They seeded life throughout the galaxy, guiding the evolution of countless species." The being from the stasis pod, her energy exchange with Nova complete, began to speak in a language understood by all present. "I am Lyra," she said, her voice carrying the weight of millennia. "I have waited so long for one like you, child of two worlds." Lyra explained that Nova represented the culmination of the progenitors' work, a bridge between all sentient species in the galaxy. She had remained in stasis, waiting for the emergence of a being like Nova to signal the next stage in galactic evolution. As Lyra spoke, Captain Rodriguez's voice came through on Harper's comm device, demanding an update. The commander, still processing the magnitude of their discovery, relayed the information about the progenitors and Lyra's revelation about Nova. "This changes everything," Rodriguez said, her voice tight with the weight of responsibility. "Commander, begin transferring as much data as you can from the progenitor ship to the Endeavor. We need to understand what we've stumbled upon here." Lyra, observing the Endeavor crew's technology and the unique nature of their hybrid ship, expressed interest in their journey. "Your vessel, it carries echoes of our work," she mused. "Perhaps, in my long absence, the seeds we planted have flourished in ways we never anticipated." With a glance at Nova, whose condition seemed to have stabilized in Lyra's presence, the progenitor made an offer. "I can help the child master their abilities, and in return, I ask to accompany you on your journey. There is much I wish to learn about the state of the galaxy." As Harper coordinated the data transfer and Dr. Sullivan continued to pore over the progenitor database, Captain Rodriguez considered Lyra's proposal. The potential benefits of having a progenitor ally were immense, but so too were the risks of the unknown. Finally, Rodriguez's voice came through the comm once more. "We accept your offer, Lyra. Welcome aboard the Endeavor." As preparations began to integrate Lyra into the crew and transfer her knowledge to their systems, Nova's condition continued to improve. The child's newfound connection with Lyra promised to unlock the full potential of their hybrid nature. The Endeavor's crew, their ranks now swelled by the addition of a progenitor and the newly corporeal Zephyrians, faced an uncertain future. As they worked to understand the wealth of information they had discovered and harness Nova's growing abilities, they knew that their journey through uncharted space had only just begun. Begun. As the Endeavour departed from the ancient progenitor vessel, its crew worked tirelessly to integrate their newfound knowledge and allies into their ongoing mission. Lyra, the progenitor who had joined their ranks, wasted no time in establishing a specialized training area for Nova in one of the ship's cargo bays. Using a combination of salvage progenitor technology and the Endeavor's hybrid systems, she created a space that hummed with potential. "Focus, Nova," Lyra instructed, her voice gentle yet firm. "Feel the energy flowing through you, shaping reality to your will." Nova stood in the center of the bay, eyes closed in concentration. The air around the child shimmered with nearly unleashed power. Slowly, Nova raised a hand, and a nearby crate began to lift off the ground. Asha watched from the sidelines, her heart swelling with pride and a touch of fear. Dr. Sullivan stood beside her, monitoring Nova's vital signs on a handheld device. "Remarkable," Sullivan murmured. "The child's control is improving exponentially." Over the following weeks, Nova's abilities grew by leaps and bounds under Lyra's tutelage. The once unstable energy that had threatened to overwhelm the child now bent to Nova's will with increasing precision. While Nova trained, Dr. Sullivan and Asha found themselves working closely together, adapting the vast wealth of progenitor data for use in the Endeavour systems. Their shared goal of understanding and harnessing this knowledge brought them closer, rekindling the spark that had first drawn them together. One evening, as they pored over holographic displays of progenitor schematics, Asha's hand brushed against Sullivan's. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the complexities of their situation faded away. "Gary," Asha said softly, "I never thought I'd say this, but I'm glad we're on this journey together." Sullivan's response was cut short by Captain Rodriguez's voice over the intercom. "Senior staff to the bridge, immediately." As they rushed to respond, Commander Harper was already briefing the captain on their latest discovery. "Long-range sensors have detected a massive gravitational anomaly, Captain. It appears to be a binary star system on the verge of collapse." Rodriguez leaned forward, studying the data on the main view screen. "Any signs of life?" Harper nodded grimly. "One of the planets orbiting the dying stars shows signs of a pre-FTL civilization. If we're reading this correctly, they're facing extinction." A heavy silence fell over the bridge. The Prime Directive burdened immensely on their minds, but the thought of an entire species being wiped out was equally troubling. Lyra, who had joined them on the bridge, spoke up. "There may be a way to stabilize the system using a combination of progenitor techniques and Nova's abilities." Captain Rodriguez called for a detailed briefing, and soon the senior staff found themselves debating the merits and risks of intervention. "The Prime Directive," Harper began, but Rodriguez cut him off. "I'm well aware of the Prime Directive, Commander, but we're not dealing with a natural evolutionary process here. This is a cosmic accident that will eradicate an entire civilization." After hours of deliberation, a modified version of Lyra's plan was approved. The Endeavour took up position at a critical point between the binary stars, its hull groaning under the gravitational stresses. In the cargo bay turned training area, Nova stood at the center of a complex array of progenitor and Federation technology. Asha and Dr. Sullivan flanked the child, offering support and monitoring vital signs. "Remember your training," Lyra said, her ancient eyes filled with a mix of hope and concern. "You are the bridge between worlds, Nova. You can do this." Nova nodded, face set in tenacity. The child's hands rose, and with them, waves of energy began to pulse outward from the Endeavour. On the bridge, Commander Harper worked furiously to reroute power and maintain structural integrity. "Hull stress is approaching critical levels," he reported, his voice tight. Captain Rodriguez gripped the arms of her chair. "Hold position. We need to give Nova more time." As the Endeavour channeled vast amounts of energy to alter the star system's gravitational dynamics, alarms blared throughout the ship. Dr. Perry and her medical team stood ready, prepared for any eventuality. Just as it seemed the ship and its crew had reached their limit, a new alert sounded. "Captain," Ensign Chen called out, "we're detecting an approaching vessel. It appears to be from the planet we're trying to save." Rodriguez's eyes widened. "They've achieved spaceflight? Hail them immediately." The view screen flickered to life, revealing a group of bioluminescent humanoids. Their expressions were a mix of fear, awe, and hope. "This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the Federation Starship Endeavor," Rodriguez said, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "We come in peace and offer our assistance." As the captain began this historic first contact, a massive solar flare erupted from one of the dying stars. The burst of radiation and plasma threatened both the Endeavor and the approaching alien vessel. In the cargo bay, Nova's eyes snapped open, glowing with otherworldly power. Without a word, the child extended their protective energy field, enveloping both ships in a shimmering bubble. The immediate danger passed, and the star system began to show signs of stabilization. Captain Rodriguez exhaled slowly, allowing herself a moment of relief before turning her attention back to the view screen. "We welcome you aboard the Endeavor," she said to the alien delegation. "There's much we have to discuss." As the Lumina, as they called themselves, prepared to dock with the Endeavor, Dr. Sullivan made a startling discovery. Analyzing the data from their initial scans, he found striking similarities between the Lumina's bioluminescent biology and the changes observed in Nova and the Zephyrians. "Captain," he reported, his voice filled with excitement, "I think we may have stumbled upon a link between the Lumina and the progenitors. This could change everything we thought we knew about the spread of life in the galaxy." As the Endeavor's airlocks cycled open to receive their new guests, Captain Rodriguez straightened her uniform, acutely aware that they stood on the brink of a new chapter in galactic history. The success of their mission had not only saved an entire species from extinction, but had also opened up new avenues of exploration and understanding. With Lyra at her side to provide diplomatic insight, Rodriguez prepared to greet the Lumina delegation. The questions that awaited answers were as vast as space itself. How were the Lumina connected to the progenitors? What other secrets lay hidden in the uncharted expanses of the galaxy? And how would this encounter shape the future of both the Endeavor's mission and the Federation itself? As the first Lumina representatives stepped aboard, their bioluminescent forms casting a soft glow through the corridor, the crew of the Endeavor steeled themselves for the next phase of their journey into the unknown regions of space. The Endeavor's crew, still processing the monumental events of the past few days, settled into their routines with a renewed sense of purpose. As the ship glided away from the stabilized binary star system, Captain Rodriguez called for a thorough inventory of their newly acquired resources and technology from the Lumina. Dr. Gary Sullivan, eager to delve into the wealth of new information, immersed himself in the task. Hours into the inventory process, Sullivan's eyes widened as he uncovered an artifact unlike anything he had seen before. Its sleek, otherworldly design pulsed with a faint, mesmerizing glow. "Asha, come look at this," he called out, excitement evident in his voice. Asha hurried over, her bioluminescent form casting a soft light over the workstation. She gasped as she recognized the unmistakable hallmarks of progenitor influence in the artifact's structure. "It's beautiful," she breathed, reaching out to trace the intricate patterns etched into its surface. But how did the Lumina come to possess such advanced technology? Sullivan shook his head, equally perplexed. "I'm not sure, but this could be the key to understanding the connection between the Lumina and the progenitors." The two scientists carefully transported the artifact to one of the Endeavor's research labs, where they began a series of tests to unravel its mysteries. As they worked, Sullivan noticed something remarkable. "Asha, look at these energy readings," he said, pointing to a holographic display. "They're remarkably similar to the energy signature we've observed in Nova's abilities." Asha's eyes lit up with realization. You're right. This device, it's almost as if it's designed to amplify and focus energy in the same way Nova does naturally. Their discovery sparked a flurry of activity in the lab as they explored potential applications for the artifact. The possibilities seemed endless, from enhancing the ship's propulsion systems to creating more efficient power distribution networks. Meanwhile, in the modified cargo bay, Nova continued their training under Lyra's watchful eye. The young hybrid's progress was nothing short of astonishing, their control over energy and matter growing more precise with each passing day. During one particularly intense session, Nova stood at the center of the bay, eyes closed in deep concentration. The air around them shimmered with potential energy, creating a mesmerizing display of light and color. Lyra's voice, gentle yet firm, guided Nova through the exercise. Now, focus on the space around you. Feel the fabric of reality, and imagine yourself bending it to your will. Nova's brow furrowed with effort, and suddenly, the air in front of them seemed to ripple and tear. For a brief moment, a window into another region of space flickered into existence, showing a dizzying array of unfamiliar stars and cosmic phenomena. Lyra gasped, her ancient eyes wide with wonder. "Incredible," she murmured. "You've created a spatial distortion." The rift closed as quickly as it had appeared, leaving Nova panting with exertion. Lyra immediately contacted Captain Rodriguez, knowing the implications of this development were too significant to ignore. Within minutes, the senior staff had assembled in the conference room. Captain Rodriguez leaned forward, her expression a mix of concern and curiosity as Lyra recounted what had transpired. The ability to create controlled spatial distortions could revolutionize our approach to space travel, Commander Harper mused, his mind racing with the possibilities. Dr. Perry, however, looked uneasy. "We need to consider the potential risks. We don't fully understand the extent of Nova's abilities or their long-term effects." As the debate intensified, the ship's sensors suddenly came alive with activity. Ensign Chen's voice came over the comm system, urgency evident in her tone. "Captain, long-range sensors have detected an approaching vessel. Its design, it's unlike anything we've seen before." Rodriguez's instincts kicked in immediately. "Yellow alert. All hands to stations." The bridge buzzed with activity as the crew prepared for a potential encounter. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a ship that seemed to defy conventional design principles. Its hull appeared to be a patchwork of different technologies, with elements that harkened back to both progenitor and consortium designs. "Hail them," Rodriguez ordered, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. A moment later, a holographic projection materialized on the bridge. The being that appeared was humanoid in shape, but with an otherworldly quality that spoke of advanced evolution or extensive genetic engineering. "Greetings, Endeavor," the being said, his voice carrying an odd resonance. "I am Zephyr, a scientist from the civilization known as the Nexus. I've been tracking your unique energy signature across the galaxy, and I must say I'm fascinated by what I found." Captain Rodriguez stepped forward, her posture guarded but open. "I'm Captain Elena Rodriguez. What brings you to this part of space, Zephyr?" Zephyr's eyes gleamed with nearly unleashed excitement. "I've dedicated my life to pushing the boundaries of transdimensional physics. Your ship, with its unprecedented combination of technologies and species, represents a unique opportunity for study and collaboration." He paused, his gaze sweeping across the bridge crew. "I propose a temporary alliance. In exchange for the chance to study your hybrid systems and the remarkable being you call Nova, I offer my extensive knowledge of quantum entanglement and spatial folding." Rodriguez exchanged glances with her senior staff, weighing the potential benefits against the risks of trusting this unknown entity. After a moment of silent deliberation, she turned back to Zephyr. "We're open to a limited exchange of information, but under strict security protocols," she said firmly. Zephyr nodded, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Of course. I look forward to our collaboration, Captain Rodriguez." As the projection faded, Rodriguez turned to her crew. "Prepare for Zephyr's arrival. I want full security measures in place and all sensitive areas of the ship locked down." The crew sprang into action, readying the Endeavor for this new chapter in their journey. Little did they know that Zephyr's arrival would set in motion a chain of events that would test their grit, challenge their understanding of the universe, and push Nova's abilities to their very limits. Suddenly, a violent tremor shook the Endeavor, sending crew members stumbling across the bridge. Warning klaxons blared as the ship's systems went haywire. "Report," Captain Rodriguez shouted, gripping her chair to stay upright. Commander Harper's fingers flew across his console. "Massive energy surge detected, Captain. It's overloading our systems." The captain's eyes widened as she realized the implications. "Initiate emergency protocols. All hands, brace for impact." As the energy reaction cascaded through the ship, the artificial gravity generators failed, plunging the crew into weightlessness. Officers and equipment alike began to float, creating a scene of chaos on the bridge. In the ensuing confusion, Zephyr saw his chance. With a swift motion, he activated a personal teleportation device concealed within his clothing. Before anyone could react, he vanished in a flash of light, leaving behind only a faint shimmer in the air. "Zephyr's gone," Ensign Chin called out, her voice tinged with disbelief. Captain Rodriguez gritted her teeth. "We'll deal with him later. Right now, we need to regain control of our ship." As the immediate threat of Zephyr's presence subsided, a new crisis emerged. The ship lurched violently, its engine sputtering and dying. "Propulsion systems are offline," Commander Harper reported grimly. "We're dead in the water, Captain." Rodriguez's mind raced, formulating a plan. "Harper, take a team and assess the damage. We need those engines back online ASAP." As Harper floated towards the exit, Dr. Sullivan's voice crackled over the comm. "Captain, we have a situation with Nova. Their powers are fluctuating dangerously. We need to stabilize them before dash." His words were cut off by a sudden surge of energy that rippled through the ship. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a massive spatial anomaly forming nearby. "What in the name of dash?" Rodriguez began, but was interrupted by Ensign Chen. "Captain, the anomaly is generating a powerful gravitational pull. We're being drawn in." Rodriguez's voice rang out clear and determined. "Divert all available power to structural integrity. We can't let this thing tear us apart." As the crew scrambled to reinforce the ship's defenses, Lyra's calm voice cut through the chaos. "Captain, I believe we can use Nova's abilities in conjunction with the Lumina artifact to counteract the anomaly's pull." Rodriguez hesitated for a split second, weighing the risks. "Do it," she ordered. "It's our best shot." In the modified cargo bay, Lyra guided Nova through the process of focusing their powers through the artifact. A shimmering bubble of energy began to form around the Endeavor, stabilizing its position relative to the growing anomaly. The strain on Nova was evident, their small form trembling with exertion. Asha, sensing the child's struggle, stepped forward. "I can help," she said, her bioluminescent skin pulsing with energy. Linking her hands with Nova's, she channeled her own power into the protective field. The anomaly continued to grow, its swirling vortex of energy threatening to engulf the ship. Just as it seemed the Endeavor would be torn apart, the anomaly collapsed in on itself, forming a stable wormhole. Before anyone could react, the ship was pulled into the vortex. The crew watched in awe and terror as they hurtled through a tunnel of swirling energy, helpless to alter their course. Seconds stretched into eternity as the Endeavor traversed the wormhole. Then, with a final lurch, they burst back into normal space. "Status report," Rodriguez called out, her voice hoarse. Ensign Chen's fingers danced across her console. We're back in known space, Captain. It's the Coalition space station. As the realization sank in, the crew watched as the station's defensive systems activated, and interceptor ships scrambled to meet them. Before Rodriguez could formulate a response, a familiar ship appeared on their sensors. Admiral Zorn's vessel moved into view, hailing the Endeavor. The Admiral's face appeared on the monitor, a mix of relief and concern evident in his features. Captain Rodriguez, it's good to see you again, though I must admit, your return is rather unexpected. Rodriguez straightened in her chair, her mind racing to process the situation. Admiral Zorn, it's a long story, one I'm sure you'll find quite interesting. As they approached the station, Nova's protective bubble began to dissipate, the child's energy finally spent. Asha and Dr. Sullivan rushed to support the exhausted hybrid, guiding them towards the medical bay. Rodriguez turned to her first officer. Commander Harper, prepare for docking procedures. We have a lot of explaining to do. As the Endeavor maneuvered towards the Coalition space station, the crew knew that their journey was a long way to go. The knowledge they had gained, the alliances they had formed, and the threats they had uncovered would reshape the future of known space. And as they prepared to face the consequences of their actions, they couldn't help but wonder what new challenges awaited them in the vastness of the cosmos. The crew of the Endeavor barely had time to catch their breath before the magnitude of their situation became apparent. As they approached the docking bay, Captain Rodriguez's mind raced with the implications of their sudden return. She knew that explaining their journey, the technologies they had acquired, and the potential threats they had uncovered would be a monumental task. The docking procedure completed with a soft thud, and Rodriguez turned to her crew. Commander Harper, Dr. Sullivan, you're with me. We need to brief Admiral Zorn immediately. As they disembarked, they were met by a contingent of Coalition security officers, their expressions a mix of curiosity and wariness. Admiral Zorn stood at the forefront, his piercing gaze fixed on Rodriguez. Captain, I trust you have a good explanation for your unconventional return, Zorn said, his voice stern but tinged with concern. Rodriguez nodded, her posture straightening. Admiral, the situation is far more complex than we could have imagined. We've encountered technologies and threats that could reshape the future of known space. As they walked towards the station's command center, Rodriguez began a concise briefing on their encounters with the progenitors, the cosmic architects, and the unique abilities of Nova. Zorn's expression grew increasingly grave as he absorbed the information. Meanwhile, in the medical bay of the Endeavor, Dr. Perry worked tirelessly to stabilize Nova's condition. The child's prolonged use of their abilities during the wormhole incident had taken a severe toll on their hybrid physiology. Asha, I need you to monitor these readings, Dr. Perry instructed, her fingers flying over the medical console. Any fluctuations could indicate a relapse. Asha nodded, her bioluminescent skin pulsing with concern as she watched over Nova's unconscious form. In the station's command center, the gravity of the situation became clear as Rodriguez shared their sensor data and intelligence on the cosmic architects. Admiral Zorn's face paled as he viewed the projections of the approaching fleet. This is beyond anything we've faced before, Zorn muttered, his eyes fixed on the holographic display. He turned to Rodriguez, his decision made. Captain, I'm authorizing a full integration of the Endeavor systems with our defense grid. We need every advantage we can get. Rodriguez nodded, relief washing over her. Thank you, Admiral. Commander Harper can oversee the integration process. He's intimately familiar with our hybrid systems. As Harper left to coordinate with the station's engineering teams, Rodriguez felt a tremor run through the station. She looked at Zorn, alarm evident in her eyes. It started, Zorn said grimly. The cosmic architects have entered the system. The command center erupted into a flurry of activity as officers rushed to their stations. Rodriguez watched as the long-range sensors displayed the approaching fleet, their ships unlike anything she had ever seen. Captain Rodriguez. Zorn's voice cut through the chaos. I'm placing you in charge of our fighter squadrons. Your experience with unconventional tactics may be our best hope. Rodriguez nodded, her mind already formulating strategies. She turned to her communication officer. Get me a direct link to our fighter pilots. We need to coordinate our defense. As she began briefing the pilots, alarms blared throughout the station. The cosmic architects had deployed their energy-dampening fields, attempting to neutralize the Coalition's defenses. However, the integrated systems of the Endeavour and the space station held firm, creating a stable protective barrier around the Allied forces. Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. Their preparations were paying off. Suddenly, a familiar face appeared on the main view screen. Zephyr, now revealed as a high-ranking member of the Cosmic Architects, regarded them with a mixture of disdain and grudging respect. Captain Rodriguez, Admiral Zorn, he began, his voice carrying an otherworldly resonance. I will give you one chance to surrender Nova and the Endeavour. Refusal will result in the unleashing of weapons beyond your comprehension, weapons capable of unraveling the very fabric of space-time. Rodriguez stepped forward, her voice unwavering. We will not comply with your demands, Zephyr. We stand united against your threat. As Zephyr's image faded from the screen, Rodriguez turned to Zorn. Admiral, we need to prepare for an assault unlike anything we've faced before. Zorn nodded grimly. Agreed. All hands, battle stations. This is not a drill. As the Coalition forces braced for impact, a sudden surge of energy rippled through the station. In the Endeavour's medical bay, Nova's eyes snapped open, glowing with an otherworldly light. Dr. Perry gasped as the child sat up, their voice carrying an eerie calm. I can help. I must help. Despite the protests of the medical staff, Nova insisted on being taken to the command center. As they arrived, escorted by Asha and Dr. Sullivan, Rodriguez felt a mix of hope and trepidation. Nova, are you sure about this? She asked, concern evident in her voice. The child nodded, their eyes fixed on the approaching enemy fleet. I can see the patterns, the weaknesses. Let me show you. As Nova was connected to a specially designed interface, the battle began in earnest. The Cosmic Architects launched their first wave of attacks, their energy weapons distorting the very space around the station. But Nova, working in concert with the Lumina artifact and the station's hybrid defenses, created a series of spatial distortions around the enemy ships. The Cosmic Architects' formation began to falter, their energy-dampening fields weakening. Rodriguez saw their opportunity. All fighters engage. Target their weakened points. As the mixed squadron of Coalition and Endeavour fighters swarmed towards the enemy fleet, Rodriguez turned to Zorn. Admiral, we need to press our advantage. The Endeavour's main weapons are at your disposal. Zorn nodded, his eyes gleaming with willpower. Coordinate with our capital ships. Let's show these Cosmic Architects what happens when they threaten our space. The battle intensified, energy weapons and spatial distortions, creating a dazzling and terrifying light show in the void of space. The Coalition forces, emboldened by their initial success, pushed forward with renewed vigor. But as the conflict raged on, Dr. Perry's voice cut through the command center, her tone urgent. Captain, Nova's vitals are becoming unstable. We need to disconnect them soon, or the strain could cause permanent damage. Rodriguez felt the weight of command bearing down on her. The tactical advantage provided by Nova's abilities was clear, but at what cost? As she wrestled with the decision, a new alert sounded from the long-range sensors. Captain, Admiral. Ensign called out, her voice tense. We're detecting a new group of ships entering the system. Their design, It's similar to the progenitor ship we encountered in uncharted space. Rodriguez and Zorn exchanged glances, the implications of this new development hanging heavy in the air. The battle had reached a critical juncture, and the arrival of these mysterious ships could tip the scales in either direction. As the unknown vessels drew closer, their intentions yet unclear, Rodriguez knew that the next few moments would shape the fate of not just their fleet, but potentially the entire known universe. With Nova's condition deteriorating and the cosmic architects pressing their attack, she prepared to make decisions that would echo through the annals of history. The command center hummed with tension as all eyes turned to the approaching progenitor-like ships, their arrival adding a new layer of complexity to an already chaotic battle. The next move would be critical, and Rodriguez steeled herself for whatever challenges lay ahead. The tension in the command center reached a fever pitch as the progenitor-like ships closed in. Rodriguez's fingers tightened on the arms of her chair, her mind racing through potential scenarios. But before she could issue any orders, a brilliant pulse of energy erupted from the lead vessel, engulfing the entire battlefield. Rodriguez blinked, momentarily blinded. When her vision cleared, she gasped. A shimmering, translucent barrier now surrounded the coalition forces, including the space station and the Endeavor. The reality-warping weapons of the cosmic architects splashed harmlessly against its surface, dissipating into nothingness. "Status report," she barked, her eyes glued to the main view screen. Ensign Chen's fingers flew across her console. "Captain, the energy shield appears to be neutralizing all incoming fire from the cosmic architects. Our systems are unaffected." Admiral Zorn leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "This changes everything. Captain Rodriguez, I believe we have an opportunity here." Rodriguez nodded, understanding immediately. "Agreed. All ships, cease fire. Open a channel to all parties." As the coalition forces halted their attack, the battlefield fell into an eerie silence. The cosmic architect ships hung motionless, their weapons quieted by the unexpected intervention. A deep, resonant voice filled the command center. "Greetings, beings of this realm. I am Archon Zale, representative of the Progenitor Peacekeeping Force. We request an immediate conference with all factions aboard your space station." Rodriguez exchanged a glance with Zorn, who gave a curt nod. "This is Captain Rodriguez of the Endeavor. We accept your request, Archon Zale. Please prepare to dock." As preparations for the conference began, Dr. Perry's urgent voice cut through the activity. "Captain, Nova's condition is critical. We need to stabilize them immediately." Rodriguez felt her heart sink. In the chaos of battle, she had momentarily forgotten about Nova's deteriorating state. "Understood, Doctor. Do whatever you can. I'll join you as soon as possible." The next hours passed in a blur of activity. As coalition engineers worked to integrate the Endeavor systems with the space station, Rodriguez found herself shut between the medical bay and the hastily prepared conference room. In the medical bay, she watched helplessly as Dr. Perry and her team fought to stabilize Nova. The child's skin flickered with erratic pulses of energy, their bodies struggling to maintain cohesion. The strain of the battle, combined with the wormhole incident, has accelerated the breakdown of Nova's hybrid physiology, Dr. Perry explained, her voice tight with concern. "We're doing everything we can, but our technology may not be enough." Rodriguez placed a comforting hand on Asha's shoulder, the luminous skin dimmed with worry. "We'll find a way," she assured her, even as doubt gnawed at her insides. In the conference room, the atmosphere was tense as representatives from all factions gathered around a large, circular table. Zephyr sat opposite Rodriguez, his otherworldly eyes betraying a mix of defiance and unease. Archon Zale, an imposing figure with iridescent skin and eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of eons, took the central position. As the negotiations began, Zephyr was forced to reveal the true motives of the cosmic architects. We sought to harness the power of hybrid technologies, yes, he admitted, his voice carrying an undertone of frustration. But our goal was noble, to reshape the galaxy into a perfect form, free from the chaos and suffering that plagues it now. Rodriguez leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. And who gave you the right to make that decision for everyone else? Before Zephyr could respond, Archon Zale raised a hand, silencing the room. The path to harmony is not through forced perfection, he said, his voice resonating with authority. We propose a compromise. Allow for controlled experimentation with hybrid technologies under the supervision of a neutral council. As discussions continued, Rodriguez's communicator buzzed. Dr. Perry's voice came through, tight with urgency. Captain, Nova's condition has taken a turn for the worse. We need to make a decision now. Rodriguez excused herself and hurried back to the medical bay, where she found Asha and Dr. Sullivan huddled around Nova's bed. The child's form seemed to be fading in and out of reality, their skin a patchwork of human flesh and Lumina energy. Archon Zale, who had followed Rodriguez, stepped forward. We may be able to help, he said softly. Our medical technology is far advanced beyond your own. We can stabilize the child, but it will require them to be placed in a special stasis chamber aboard our flagship for an extended period. Rodriguez watched as Asha and Dr. Sullivan grappled with the decision, their faces etched with worry and fear. The choice before them was agonizing. Trust their child to these unknown beings, or risk losing Nova forever. After a moment of silent communication, Asha turned to Rodriguez, her voice wavering but determined. We agree, but under strict conditions. We want constant monitoring and visitation rights. Rodriguez nodded, relief washing over her. I'll make sure it happens, she promised, already formulating plans to ensure Nova's safety. As preparations began to transfer Nova to the progenitor vessel, a coalition scientist burst into the medical bay, her eyes wide with excitement. Captain, you need to see this. In the Endeavor Science Lab, Rodriguez watched in amazement as the Lumina artifact pulsed with newfound energy. The scientist explained breathlessly, it's created a stable network linking the Endeavor, the space station, and now the progenitor ships. The possibilities are endless. Just then, Zephyr approached, his demeanor subdued. Captain Rodriguez, I have a proposal, he said, his voice lacking its usual arrogance. In exchange for leniency, I offer information about our hidden research facilities. They contain valuable data on hybrid technologies that could benefit all species. Rodriguez studied him carefully, weighing the potential risks against the rewards. Finally, she nodded. Commander Harper, she called out, assemble a joint task force. We're going to investigate these facilities. As Nova was carefully transported to the progenitor flagship, Rodriguez watched Asha and Dr. Sullivan share a tearful goodbye. Asha would remain with Nova, while Dr. Sullivan joined Harper's task force, his expertise in hybrid technologies invaluable to the mission. Rodriguez turned her attention to the Endeavor, now undergoing extensive repairs and upgrades. Coalition engineers worked alongside progenitor technicians, integrating advanced technologies that promised to enhance the ship's capabilities beyond anything they had imagined. Amid the flurry of activity, Admiral Zorn approached Rodriguez, a glint of admiration in his eyes. Captain, I have a proposition for you, he began, outlining his vision for a new, specialized division within the coalition. As Rodriguez considered the Admiral's proposal, a sudden alert from the long-range sensors caught everyone's attention. Unusual energy signatures had been detected at the edge of known space, bearing unsettling similarities to both the wormhole phenomenon and the cosmic architect's weapons. Rodriguez felt a familiar mix of excitement and apprehension as she studied the sensor readings. The galaxy, it seemed, still held many secrets waiting to be uncovered. As the coalition, progenitors, and reformed cosmic architects began to form a tentative alliance, She knew that their greatest adventures and challenges lay ahead. The command center buzzed with renewed purpose as plans were made and orders given. Rodriguez took a moment to gaze out at the vast expanse of space, her mind already turning to the mysteries that awaited them in the uncharted regions beyond. As the Endeavour underwent its extensive upgrades, Captain Rodriguez found herself dividing her attention between the ship's transformation and the unfolding events aboard the progenitor flagship. The hum of activity in the command center was punctuated by regular updates from Dr. Perry, who had accompanied Nova and Asha to oversee the child's treatment. Nova's condition has stabilized, Dr. Perry reported via holographic communication. The progenitor medical team is optimistic about the treatment's progress, but it's going to take time. Rodriguez nodded, relief evident in her expression. And Asha? How is she holding up? Remarkably well, Perry replied. She's been working closely with the progenitor doctors, learning their techniques. It's fascinating to watch. As the conversation concluded, Rodriguez turned her attention to the newly formed task force led by Commander Harper. The team, including Dr. Gary Sullivan, had just departed for their first mission to investigate the Cosmic Architect's hidden research facilities. Commander Harper, what's your status? Rodriguez inquired over the secure channel. Harper's voice crackled through the comm system. We just entered orbit around the target moon, Captain. Preliminary scans show no signs of active life forms, but we're detecting significant energy signatures consistent with advanced technology. Proceed with caution, Rodriguez advised, and keep me updated on any significant findings. As the task force began to descend to the moon's surface, Rodriguez shifted her focus to the Endeavor's upgrades. The integration of progenitor technology was progressing rapidly, with coalition engineers working alongside their alien counterparts in a flurry of activity. Chief Engineer Takahashi approached, his normally stoic face betraying a hint of excitement. Captain, you need to see this, he said, leading Rodriguez to the ship's core. The Lumina artifact, now permanently installed at the heart of the Endeavour, pulsed with an otherworldly glow. Its energy signature had changed, becoming more complex and intertwined with the ship's systems. It's acting as a sort of hybrid technology hub, Takahashi explained. The artifact is facilitating the integration of progenitor tech with our existing systems in ways we never thought possible. Rodriguez studied the readouts, her mind racing with the possibilities. What does this mean for our capabilities? Simply put, Captain, we're looking at a quantum leap in propulsion, energy manipulation, and even our ability to navigate through space-time, Takahashi replied. As Rodriguez contemplated the implications of these advancements, a priority message came through from Admiral Zorn. The Admiral's holographic form materialized in the command center, his expression serious but tinged with anticipation. Captain Rodriguez, I hope the upgrades are proceeding smoothly, Zorn began. I'm contacting you regarding the formation of our new specialized division. In light of recent events and your exemplary leadership, I'm appointing you as the head of this elite group. Rodriguez straightened, surprised but honored. Thank you, Admiral. What exactly will this division's mandate be? Your team will be at the forefront of hybrid technology integration and uncharted space exploration, Zorn explained. You'll need to assemble a crew capable of handling the unique challenges we're facing. I'm also initiating diplomatic talks with various species, including the Lumina, to foster cooperation and knowledge sharing. As Rodriguez absorbed this new responsibility, her thoughts turned to the ongoing missions. She couldn't help but wonder about the discoveries waiting to be made in the Cosmic Architect's abandoned facilities and the potential they held for reshaping their understanding of the universe. Meanwhile, on the desolate moon, Commander Harper's team had made their way into the abandoned laboratory. Dr. Sullivan moved from console to console, his eyes wide with wonder as he deciphered the complex data left behind by the Cosmic Architects. This is incredible, he muttered, more to himself than to his teammates. The level of advancement in hybrid technology here is beyond anything we've seen before. As the team continued their exploration, a sudden movement caught their attention. From a hidden chamber emerged a young alien female, her appearance both familiar and strange. She introduced herself as Lyra, explaining that she was a test subject left behind during the facility's evacuation. Dr. Sullivan found himself drawn to Lyra, fascinated by her unique physiology and the implications of the experiments conducted on her. As he began to examine her more closely, he couldn't help but notice her exotic beauty and the intelligence that shone in her eyes. "Dr. Sullivan," Lyra said, her voice carrying an otherworldly lilt, "I can help you understand the research conducted here. My abilities, they're a result of extensive genetic experimentation." Sullivan nodded, intrigued. "We'd be grateful for your assistance, Lyra. And please call me Gary." As they worked together to uncover the secrets of the facility, Sullivan found himself increasingly aware of Lyra's presence. Her unique abilities proved invaluable in navigating the complex systems and deciphering encrypted data. But with each passing moment, a gnawing sense of guilt began to grow in Sullivan's chest. His thoughts turned to Asha and Nova, light years away on the progenitor flagship. The unconventional family they had formed seemed both a lifetime ago and achingly present. Commander Harper's voice cut through Sullivan's conflicted thoughts. "Dr. Sullivan, we've discovered something you need to see." As Sullivan made his way to Harper's position, he couldn't shake the feeling that his personal and professional lives were about to become far more complicated than he ever could have imagined. As Sullivan made his way to Harper's position, his heart raced with anticipation and a touch of guilt. The facility held secrets beyond their wildest dreams. Over the next few days, the team uncovered groundbreaking advancements in hybrid technology, each discovery pushing the boundaries of what they thought possible. Lyra's assistance proved invaluable, her unique physiology allowing her to interface directly with the facility's systems. As the mission drew to a close, Commander Harper received orders from Captain Rodriguez to return to the Endeavor. The ship had undergone extensive upgrades, and a new, urgent mission awaited them. Upon their return, Sullivan was struck by the transformation of the Endeavor. The integration of progenitor technology had turned the once familiar vessel into something truly extraordinary. As he made his way to the bridge, he felt a mix of excitement and apprehension about reuniting with Asha and Nova. Captain Rodriguez greeted the returning team with a nod of approval. "Excellent work, everyone, but we have no time to rest. We've detected a spatial anomaly that requires immediate investigation." She turned to address the assembled crew, her voice filled with purpose. "This mission is unlike anything we've faced before. We'll be venturing into uncharted territory, and I need the best team possible." Rodriguez's eyes swept across the room, settling on each member of her newly formed elite crew. Nova, fully recovered and stronger than ever. Asha, your enhanced abilities will be crucial. Dr. Sullivan, your expertise in hybrid technologies is unparalleled. And Lyra, your unique perspective and abilities make you an invaluable addition to our team. As the crew prepared for their unprecedented journey, the Endeavor's engines hummed with newfound power. The Lumina artifact at the ship's core pulsed with an otherworldly glow, its energy intertwining with the advanced systems. With a command from Rodriguez, the Endeavor entered the spatial anomaly. The ship's hull vibrated as it passed through the distorted space-time, its advanced systems allowing for safe passage where other vessels would have been torn apart. Emerging on the other side, the crew gasped in collective awe. Before them lay a hidden pocket of the galaxy, untouched by the conflicts and politics of known space. At its center stood an ancient progenitor outpost, its dormant technology a testament to the advanced civilization that had once thrived here. As the Endeavor approached the outpost, Nova's eyes widened. "Captain, I'm sensing something. Powerful. It's calling to me." Rodriguez nodded, her expression a mix of curiosity and caution. Proceed with care, everyone. We don't know what we're dealing with here. The away team, led by Rodriguez herself, transported to the outpost. As they explored the alien structure, they encountered technology beyond their comprehension. Holographic interfaces sprang to life at their touch, displaying information in a language that seemed to shift and change as they watched. Suddenly, Nova stumbled, drawn to a pulsing artifact at the center of the main chamber. Before anyone could stop her, she reached out and touched it. The artifact flared to life, releasing a blinding surge of energy that engulfed the entire outpost. The energy waves spread rapidly, passing through the Endeavor and continuing outward into space. On the ship in the outpost, Nova, Asha, and Lyra collapsed to their knees, overwhelmed by the sudden amplification of their abilities. Dr. Sullivan rushed to Lyra's side, cradling her as she gasped for breath. "Lyra, what's happening?" Lyra's eyes flew open, glowing with an inner light. "Everything. I can feel everything," she whispered, her voice filled with wonder and fear. Asha steadied herself against the console, her body vibrating with newfound power. "Captain, this energy surge. It's affecting all hybrid beings. Our abilities, they're growing exponentially." Rodriguez's communicator crackled to life, filled with urgent messages from across known space. Reports flooded in of hybrid beings suddenly manifesting incredible powers, causing chaos and confusion throughout the galaxy. "We need to contain this," Rodriguez ordered, her voice cutting through the commotion. "Nova, Asha, can you create some kind of stabilizing field?" The two nodded, joining hands. As they concentrated, a shimmering field of energy expanded outward from them, enveloping the outpost and the Endeavor. The chaotic energies surrounding them began to calm, settling into a more controlled state. "Good work," Rodriguez said, relief evident in her voice. "But we need to get back to known space immediately. The entire galaxy could be in turmoil." As the crew rushed to return to the Endeavor, Dr. Sullivan found himself supporting Lyra, who was still unsteady on her feet. Their eyes met, a silent understanding passing between them. In that moment, Sullivan realized that his feelings for Lyra had grown far beyond professional curiosity. The Endeavor raced back through the spatial anomaly, emerging into a galaxy in chaos. Hybrid beings across countless worlds struggled to control their newly enhanced abilities, causing widespread panic and destruction. Rodriguez's voice rang out over the ship's comm system. "All hands, prepare for emergency operations. We need to stabilize the situation before it tears the galaxy apart." As the Endeavor plunged into the heart of the crisis, its crew ready to face the greatest challenge of their lives, Dr. Sullivan caught Asha's eye across the bridge. The look they shared was one of understanding, tinged with a hint of uncertainty about the future. With Nova and Asha focusing their amplified powers to create a harmonizing field, and Lyra working tirelessly alongside Dr. Sullivan to analyze and counter the effects of the energy surge, the Endeavor became a beacon of hope in a galaxy thrown into chaos. As they worked, Sullivan found himself constantly aware of both Asha and Lyra, his heart torn between his established connection with Asha and the growing bond he shared with Lyra. The complexities of their situation seemed to mirror the turbulent state of the galaxy around them, and Sullivan wondered how they would navigate these uncharted emotional waters in the midst of this unprecedented crisis.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.